Oh, hello there. Welcome to SkepTalk, y'all. It's the show that you're watching. I'm Forrest Valkai, and I'm joined today by the incredible, the kind, the generous, the handsome, may I say the charming, Seth Andrews. How you doing, my friend?
Wow. I want you to write my resume and have my business cards created. And I want you to walk into the room ahead of me and make an announcement like they do with royalty. Ladies and gentlemen, the Duke arrives. No, it's good to be back, my friend. I don't think I've ever hosted a Monday night show with anybody here on the line before, so this will be kind of fun.
Oh my God.
Format kind of the
You
same.
absolutely
We just,
have, by the way.
we talk to the brilliant apologists who are bringing their proofs for God, or what?
It's the same vibe, yeah. So we've got. First of all, you have done this show before. I know for a fact because you've done it with me. And,
Well, I've done the line. I've done the Sunday show, but like
you've done
Mondays?
You've done SkepTalk. You've done this exact
well, no,
show.
the memory goes as you get older, and this is horrible.
That's what it is.
This is horrible, and this is how bad it is. So I have everything on my Google Calendar. I know I'm doing the show. I'm planning everything. My tennis teams are asking when I'm available. I know I'm doing the show. This morning I have check out my day timer. I know I'm doing the show. Natalie gets home from work and she's like, "What do you think?" And I'm like, "You know what? Why don't we go to the store and then we'll rent a movie together and just hang out?" Like I totally went away. And she looked at me and goes, "Aren't you doing a show at 6?" "Oh, yeah. Yes, I'm doing a show at 6. It's just certain information has had to be sacrificed, apparently. And it's getting worse as I get older. So anyway, but thanks for letting me play along.
Yeah, I have the exact same thing. So like, don't think that's an issue of age. That is just my day-to-day life. If I turn my body, I have forgotten what's going on over here. If I leave the room, it's a new room. Like it's life has begun anew. I forget everything that I'm doing all the time. Amber will mess with me sometimes, or we'll literally be in the car and she's like, "Hey, where are we going right now?" I'm like, I was just going to start driving until you started telling me I was going to pick up context clues. I was going to wait for hints as I was just driving down this road. If you're like, "Oh, we're getting close," I'll be like, "Okay, what's close to here?" Never mind the fact that I made the plan 5 minutes ago.
A segment on the show about why I had a memory expert, Dr. Elizabeth Lofters on. This has been like 8-9 years. And we talked about faultiness of memory, which is why I'm terrified of eyewitness testimony in courts of law. That's a whole other conversation. But we did a show about why can you meet someone, "Hi, what's your name, Bob?" And then 3 seconds later, you have no idea what their name was. And it happens to me all the time. "Hi, what's your name?" "Oh, nice to meet you." And I worry that, is it that it's simply vanishing, or science says it may be because we're distracted, we're overloaded, or we're just not interested. And I don't want to be the guy who's not interested, because that just makes you a shitty human being, right? "Hi, what's your name?" "I'm sounding interested, but I'm lying to you." That kind of thing. Anyway.
I have got to a point where I just make it a thing. I will strip tell people "Hey, pleasure to meet you. I will forget your name, so be ready to tell me again." And I'm just very upfront and honest about it because my brain is bad. I can't stop.
I cheat. We're at a convention and everybody's got a name badge, and so you don't want to look right at the name badge, but you're kind of looking around and you just graze the name badge on your way by. "Steven, Steven, how you been, man? Good to see you again." Just totally cheap. Totally.
And nobody worries about the fact that you're just doing this while you're talking to people, trying not to look like you're looking at
or you're just like, "Hey, man,"
Yeah,
and,
you.
Most people give a lot of grace, though. My favorite is, "Hey, we met when you spoke at a group in another part of the country 7 years ago. Do you remember me?" And often I'll kind of remember the face, but if we haven't that's a long ass time. There's thousands of people, and I am I have the memory of a goldfish. Actually, I learned that that's not true, that goldfish actually don't have a 3-second memory. Somebody experimented and found that gold is that.
That's the thing you should know. Remember. Yeah, it's amazing. That's the thing. You remember this fun little factoid about goldfish, but the names of your adoring fans that dedicate their time and money to come and see you, you don't remember. Shameful.
All of 2 Rhapsody, I can give you those. I can give you all that. But all of the important stuff in life is just gone. It's just
yeah, exactly. It's just nothing. really quick before we get started, I just want to let everybody know. This is going to be a relatively short show. We're going for about 2.5 to 3 hours max. So it's
Jesus
6 o'clock
Christ.
Central
I'm
Standard
sorry.
Time.
On what planet is 2.5 to 3 hours a short show? I mean, that's a long ass show, isn't it?
A long ass show. And no, it is not. You've been on this show before, but let me tell you, we tend to stretch a little bit. With that, we're probably going to try to wrap up calls by about 2 hours. So we still have time to read all the super chats. And in the meantime, we're going to rapid fire through as many calls as we can. We're going to try to take as many calls as we can in the time that we have. So we're going to go quick. Quick for me. The number on the bottom of the screen, 720-619-2288, is for theists specifically. We have, as of right now, I see we have an agnostic or something on the call screen here. But we're going to try not to take too many atheists unless it's like really salient political topic or something like that. We're just going to try to stick to as many God arguments as we possibly can, make it as fun of a show for the people who like to watch this stuff as possible, because we kind of have a deadline and we usually don't do that. So just letting everybody know right off the bat what's going on. And if you're out there and you watch these shows and you sit at home and grumble and gripe about how we just don't understand God and we just don't get it, but you don't want to dedicate to a long call, this is your chance. Pick up the phone. Let's hear your best. Let's hear the most exciting evidence you have.
Nice to connect with people. Considering the fact that Facebook yesterday deleted my personal account outright. I woke up and there was a notice. And they're like, your account has been deleted. Would you like to appeal? And I'm like, why? It does not say. So I'm looking around. Wait a minute. There must be a reason. There must be this. And there's nothing. You are in violation of community standards is usually, I think, what it said. Would you like to appeal? And of course, yeah, okay, I'm click. All right, we will let you know within 24 hours whether or not your account will be banned permanently. And I'm still waiting. I've been refreshing the page occasionally. The good news is at least at the moment, the Thinking Atheist page, the main page is still there. I have someone else who is helping to admin it. But if you're looking for Seth Andrews, that account has just been gone. And what's weird is a lot of people are like, Zuckerberg hates atheists, man, and they're going crazy. And I'm like, well, I know that's tempting to do, but I would wager after 16 years, I get a content strike or a violation, which is bullshit, by the way, because it's always a meme that's either misinterpreted, they don't see the context, or someone just decided arbitrarily it was offensive because I was grazing the delicate nerves of a religion, whether it's Christianity and especially Islam, #hate speech. So then I get this deal that says, you have violated our community standards with hate speech. Doesn't tell me what. So then I'm digging around, dig down. Like, what post could it have been? Facebook, Jesus, just tell me just tell me, right? Yeah. So then if I find what it is, and they're like, do you feel this has been done in error? Yes, I think it's been done in error. Yeah. Would you like a human being to review? Yes, I would like a human being. Click. And within 5 minutes, it says, oh, this has been confirmed by human review. Now, I have a suspicion that whoever's reviewing it is somebody who lives on the other side of the planet, doesn't understand the American idiom, doesn't get context, doesn't get sarcasm, might be religious. I don't know. Either that or this whole idea of a free speech platform is just, and I think this is also the case, total bullshit. You know, they want to live in a world where nobody's delicate nerves, especially religious people, get grazed. So I'll get a hit like every 18 months. You know, oh, you've content. Now you can't post for 24 hours. Now it's 30 days. Now you can't live stream. Now you're not allowed to advertise, as if I would ever give that Facebook money. And then I wonder if maybe this was just the straw that broke the camel's back. So long story short, or short story very long, if you look for me on Facebook, I'm gone. I may be gone forever. So far, the Thinking Atheist is still there. Okay.
Yeah, I think one of the 3 accounts on Facebook that are still a person and not a bot posting AI content for everybody's grandma to say amen to, probably mass reported you. It happens all the time. And
isn't TikTok that way? Somebody got banned from TikTok, and I've heard that TikTok's like the Wild West. It's just
It's
mass
awful, yeah.
reporting.
And TikTok also has a ton of bot accounts and a ton of bullshit AI and all the things. It's not as silly as Facebook, I think, because Facebook is where I go when I want to see this poor African child built a giant boat out of vegetables to praise Jesus. That's what that's the content I see on Facebook, which is why I don't have one. By the way, just putting that out there. If you follow me on Facebook, no, you don't. I don't have one at all. But occasionally it is fun to like poke around and like look at just how insane it is. And TikTok it has the same amount of bullshit, but it has a way better algorithm. So you can actually, if you know how to use the internet, you can get into a good space with cool people and learn some neat stuff. The issue is, content moderation is worse than random. They will tell you what specific thing you have been flagged for, and the flags make no sense. And I get notifications. If I haven't posted anything in a month, I'll still get a random notification saying, you keep behaving the way you are, you're going to get your account banned soon. I'm like, how? What? I left. I haven't been here. I
got one from something that was like 18 months before. It was finally when I dug and tracked it down. It was something that had been memed for like a year and a half ago. Yep. And it's something that's like all the little spider legs, and they went out and found it. So, I mean, I'm not panicking, but go ahead.
I got a post pulled down on TikTok where I talked about heat treating stone tools and like ancient like stone tools, and like this really cool archaeology paper was pulled down for minor safety. I was putting the children at risk by talking about early humans. I had one pulled down where I was talking about vestigial structures and how this bump on your ear and this tendon in your wrist tells you a little bit about your evolutionary history. That was pulled down for sexual content. So that was cool. I had one pulled down for harassment and bullying because I was responding to hate comments against myself. That happens quite frequently. That's probably the biggest thing. If you see a video of a creator complaining about content moderation on TikTok, 99 times out of 100, it is this person left a comment calling me a racial slur. I made a video saying, hey, this kind of sucks, and my video got pulled down for hate speech, and the comments still there. It happens all the time. If you and I
are drawing attention to like disinformation, pseudoscience, anti-vax pseudoscience is a great example. So RFK Jr. does something, or there's some wellness crank or some fear pimp out there that's throwing anti-vax nonsense into the ether. You want to draw attention to what's going on specifically, but by posting the example and then debunking the example in full context and actually explaining everything in detail and being pro-vaccination, even hashtagging vaccines work, the algorithm or whatever will say you are guilty of spreading vaccine disinformation. Strike.
Yep.
It's just context free. So I don't know. I understand if there are 3 billion Facebook users, how do you even remotely manage them all? To a degree, I understand. To a degree, but
the AI moderation is absolutely necessary evil, and I get that. Like you said, there's so many people posting so much stuff. But you and I also both work on YouTube. Over 80 years of content is uploaded to YouTube every single day. And they don't have half of the moderation problems that TikTok or Facebook do. So there are better ways to do it. It's just when companies don't fucking care. And they know their creators are replaceable. And
real lucky, you'll stumble upon a YouTube video of Forrest doing a 10-hour live stream, which apparently he has done something like that before.
So we did. I think the longest we did was me and Erica. We did 8.5 hours, and I think we can do better. I think
I would have gone Seth, to bed.
We could do this,
and you would have started the stream. I would have woken up and started my day and had my coffee, and you would be doing the same stream. That's remarkable to me. That's really something. So
that's what could have happened. I was telling you, man, you and me, we can make it work. Let's jump into some calls, because we did a poll at the beginning. We asked people if there's any evidence for God, and most people said no, there isn't any. But 3% of the people who in that poll said yes, there is evidence for God, and I'm calling in 3% of all people in the world, because that's who watches this show and that's who participated in that poll. So let's see. let's see how many calls we've got. Right now, we've got one. We have exactly one theist on the line out of the 3% of all humanity that answered in that poll. No, what was our number here? We got 241 people. So that's 2, 4, 6. That's 6. That's 7 people. 7 people should be on the line right now. We've got one. Let's see. Let's talk to Tim, calling in from pandering avalanches. Have I done pandering before?
Jesus.
Pedantic avalanche. That's what he's calling in from. He's calling in from Jordan Peterson. An avalanche of pedantry. And Tim says that he has evidence for God. Let's find out if that's actually true. Tim, you're on the line with Forrest and Seth. How are you doing today?
All right. How you doing today?
Never had a bad day, man.
Good. Guess we should get right to it, huh?
Yeah, why not?
God is waiting, Tim. What wisdom do you have for us today?
First of all, God has a message for Matt.
I
know he's not here
feel
tonight,
like,
but you guys can give him the message.
Well, maybe you.
No. Wait. Hang on. Hold on. Hang on, Tim. Wait a minute.
Don't you want to hear the message from God?
God is omnipresent, omniscient, omnipotent. Why would God need us to be the broker to be able to communicate the message? Why is there not a manifestation of God in Matt's house?
When you say who's us, you're not the broker. I'm the broker.
You're just putting it out there in the ether.
You're just the receiver.
Assuming that Matt's gonna hear this someday. I feel like what's about to happen is you're gonna say some dumb shit, and I'm gonna end the call because I've yet to see somebody say something like that and have it go well.
Okay. All right. So anyway, God told me to tell Matt, okay, not to get so angry. He's used up his quota of anger for his lifetime, and he's afraid that if he doesn't do that, if he doesn't calm down and meditate, he's going to end up meeting God and getting his answers.
Fucking, what a dumb thing to say to start your call.
It's not dumb. It's not dumb, but that was just between me and God and Matt. Okay. Now, as far as me,
which is why you brought us to the show hosted by Seth and Forrest. By the way, I've also been informed that I'm an agent of rage with unchecked anger.
I'm just gonna mute Tim for a second because he's just going.
Tim, I'm going to continue speaking the consonants and vowels in sequence until my thoughts are properly communicated. You can continue to speak all you wish, but now I am done, and so. Forrest, did you want Tim to continue, or?
Yeah, Tim. The thing here is that, if I took anything you were saying remotely seriously, I'd want to know, how did God tell you this? Which God told you this? In what way did this God communicate these things to you? But we all know that this isn't what happened. You found the show where Matt isn't hosting, despite the fact that Matt is hosting, I think, 2 different times this week. And you decided to call a show where he isn't to just throw an insult out there that, he's too angry and he's going to have a heart attack. I'm like, you don't know the man's health. You haven't said anything new or interesting or exciting. You think Matt hasn't heard somebody say that he's angry before? That fucking, who cares? Genuine question for you, Tim. Actual, serious, not rhetorical. Why do you think anybody would give a shit about you starting the call this way? Did you think you were going to get some big reaction, or what?
I didn't care. I don't care what anybody else thinks. Okay, I got a message. I passed it on. Okay,
and why didn't you call Matt directly? I know
you're sitting there right now in disbelief, and you're entitled to do that.
Why didn't you call Matt directly?
Time lapse here. Because I didn't see the show till today, and I don't have the time to do this again tomorrow.
Oh,
okay.
I get it. No, you got a direct message from the creator. Shut the fuck up, Tim. You got a direct message from the creator of the universe giving you specific instructions to do a thing, and you just couldn't fucking make time for it. So you just had to go just embarrass yourself on somebody else's show and waste somebody else's time. That makes total sense, Tim.
God said do this today. Okay, but That's besides the point.
Oh, you
That's
know
not
Matt has
even
an
the reason
email,
I
right?
called
I'm
in.
good. I'm good. What's your
That's
next
not
point,
even
Tim?
the reason why I called in. That's not even the reason why I
Matt has an
called in.
email.
Do you want to hear
He
the
also, there's other
scientific
places you could do
evidence?
it.
Do you want to hear the
I don't.
scientific evidence?
I
It's
bet
so
you
good.
don't know
It
what
really is.
scientific
And every
evidence is.
scientist in the country, and the world is confirming it right now.
The
hear?
evidence that God is real?
Yes.
All right. Well,
Okay.
Tim, if I may,
It's so
hang on. So
I
if
have 1
Forrest
minute?
Valkai then is a teacher and a biologist, he would be science related. He would be an instructor in that field. So then if he was the exception to the rule and still every other scientist on planet Earth was confirming your point, Forrest invalidates your claim because not every scientist.
Well, that's why we have evolution, okay? We evolve minute to minute, second to second, okay? And every new piece
What
of
do you mean by
information
evolution?
that's added to
You're
the
speaking
whole,
biologically. That doesn't make any sense.
I'm speaking in every sense of the word, okay? Okay, so
then you're wrong.
second.
I
you could have just said you were speaking colloquially, but you couldn't pull that off.
Would you just let me have 2 minutes without interrupting me?
No, because you started off by being an asshole, and now you're just wasting time by saying dumb shit.
I wasn't being an asshole. I honestly wanted.
I'm just going to mute him because he's just screaming now.
I am curious. I would like to hear exactly which destination he was trying to arrive at, if he can get there quickly, mostly for my own amusement. But it's no pressure. Just
rare is the time that I am not the most patient host. So hey, let's see what happens. All right, Tim, by the grace of our Lord and Savior Seth Andrews, you're allowed to say whatever dumb fucking thing you wanted to say. Let's hear it.
Thank you, Seth. Okay, we are all getting familiar with quantum physics. Okay, and quantum physics says that every single molecule in this universe right now is identical to each other. We are all the same. We're all made out of the exact same thing. The only difference between everything is called divine intention. Okay, and what that means is the molecules that I am are separated from the molecules that you are and everything else, and that is done. That is the presence of God right there. Forrest. It's not about...
Forrest, I owe you an apology.
Life is
from
God's
the bottom of my heart,
in physical form, playing out to its full potential.
I want to know...
So that
I mean this like just... for fun. I was looking at the call screen and I was writing to the producer. I actually wasn't listening. Did he say that every molecule is the same? Or did he say every atim is the same?
No, you know what? Okay, here's my deal. So I fell off a ladder 8 years ago.
Tim, shut the fuck up. It's no one's surprised that you fell off a ladder. What are you? Did he say molecules? Every molecule is the same? Is that what he said?
It was like someone took the word salad Jordan Peterson phrase generator and translated it into 2 other languages and back to English again. I have no idea what he's talking about. He seems to me though like and he is a waste of time. You were correct. I was wrong. I've wasted the audience's time. I owe a deep and sincere, heartfelt apology to all of our viewers. Sorry about that.
It was worth it. It was just still a good chuckle. It was still a good laugh. I heard quantum and I was like, okay, so we're doing this. And I was kind of just over. And like the thing that I think Tim needs to understand beyond just how to have a conversation like a human is that like every scientist doesn't agree in the world with whatever the fuck you just said. And I didn't even have to listen to the details to know that's true. I think I heard him say that every single molecule is identical. No. If he said every single atom is identical, also no. If he said that every single subatomic particle is identical, no. If you said that like every atom of the same element is identical, No, because isotopes and ions exist. But like, if the fundamental concept that I think Tim was trying to get to is that like every single like quark of the same spin, like they're interchangeable, and every single carbon atom of the same ion, the same isotope, like those are interchangeable. They're functionally, they're exactly the same in like that way. And that's like a whole fucking physics thing. I'm a biologist. I'm not really here for that. Just nah.
He did
Also,
inspire me though. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, brother. Go ahead. Finish.
Well, I was gonna throw out just that, like, for the guy who decided to be a jackass and make some weird ass message from God that Matt's too angry. Tim has had to be muted like 4 times now for just screaming. So I don't know what that says about it. What are you saying, Seth?
Oh, well, he inspired me to pull up the Jordan Peterson phrase generator. If you go to wisdomofpeterson.com, have you seen that website?
I love that.
Where you just click a button and word salad Petersonisms come out. So I just started with the mythos is an ingredient of intrinsic destiny, roughly speaking. That's the kind of thing I was getting from Tim's. Oh, one more. Sorting the order of power creates incredible bliss I just can't understand. See, this is the kind of thing that sounds, no, it doesn't sound deep, but I think it is designed to sound deep when it makes absolutely no sense. This sums up the last call. Again, I throw myself at the mercy of the audience for allowing Tim to continue. I will have myself lashed and punished in terrible ways. Okay.
Yeah. Hey, Tim, do you want to like make a weird noise before we end the show?
Sure.
There it was. Oh man, let's talk.
Do you want
next.
to make a weird noise?
I was just gonna let him start talking and then mute him, and it would sound weird, and that's what we got. Let's talk to James. Pronouns he, him, calling in from misogynistic oligarchy. That's what we live under. James lives in the United States, and he is a theist and says there is a God, and he will explain how to know it. James, you're on the line with Forrest and Seth. How you doing today?
I'm doing fine. How you guys doing?
I'm also doing fine, man. I'm doing really good.
Okay. Here's what I got for you. I heard this a few days ago. I don't know exactly where I heard it at. But I think it was a scientist. And I think the science was a cosmologist, studies the cosmic system.
Sure.
And he made the statement that the universe was incomprehensible. And it put a thought in my head. And it goes like this here. And it's 2 ways I'm going to look at it. But the first way is Jesus had a conversation with an individual. And the individual was asked Jesus a question. And Jesus told the individual, say, look, if you don't understand natural things or earthly things, you'll never be able to understand spiritual things. So he's putting spirituality is in another place of unknown. So in order for you to get there, first you have to be able to comprehend what is known. So that means you have to get a certain amount of natural education and able to enhance your spiritual understanding.
So here's the issue that I have with that, James. Is that like if we're saying the universe is incomprehensible and you
I didn't say this. I heard it. Excuse me. I didn't say that.
Somebody else said that.
Cosmologist. Right. I heard a cosmologist said, and I really don't know much about cosmology, but I heard him say that, and that just
I can say for sure.
Go ahead.
I can say for sure that there is way more stuff that we don't know about this universe than we do. That's unquestionable. The coolest thing about science is that every single time we like learn one thing, every single time we answer a question, we get like 3 more questions. So I think it's reasonable to say, and every great scientist I know has said that nature's imagination is so much bigger than human imagination, and there's always more to learn. Nature is never going to let us relax. That's the best part about it. But then to follow that up and say, unless you understand this entire reality that we live in, you can't understand anything spiritual. I don't know who could possibly make that claim seriously, unless that person understood every single thing there is to know about this universe, and then by doing so gain some insight about the spiritual. Because in order to make that claim about what you can and can't know about the spiritual, you have to know something about the spiritual. And if you can't know anything about the spiritual until you know everything about this universe, then how the fuck can anybody say that? So I don't buy that claim. I don't buy that philosophy unless the person who said it was the smartest person possible, was all knowing. And I don't think anybody's that.
Well, I think I must have then related a question good. I wasn't saying that a person would need to know all natural things in order to understand spirituality, but I'm saying they kind of go hand in hand. The more you understand naturally, then the more you're able to discern spiritually.
Okay.
Because what you
well, if that was true, if that was true, then we would expect people to become more spiritual the more educated they became, especially in the sciences. And we see the opposite. You know, the more people get into science, the less spiritual they tend to be.
I'm not saying that because I got a second part to it, but I understand what you said, but I'm not saying that either. But I'm saying those who are developed, those who are persistent on getting understanding through the natural universe are opening up themselves to spiritual understanding. Because what we're saying is there are a lot of things in the natural that are not understood until we're able to put light on them. And when we be able to put the light on them, then we'll see the things that are working behind those things that we don't understand. Like we once upon a time, we thought the atom was the smallest thing, as small as this something could go. Well, we discovered that there are smaller entities than the atom, things that are in the atom that are smaller. And so we got different things. But I'm trying to relate that to you this way, that as we understand the principles behind the unknown, then it brings us in the understanding where we can repeat the system when we understand it. We can get the elements, we can put them together and recreate certain things through natural understanding of things that didn't appear at first. But as we delve into it more, as we got to the point where we can split the atom, then we understood things that were hidden in the atom. Does that make any sense?
What it sounds like you're saying is that just as with science, we have a model, we have a theory, and then we develop more understanding and we learn what all the things we got wrong before, and we get better and better and better understandings of the universe. We get a higher resolution picture of the universe as we continue to grow. The same thing applies to spirituality, and you think that the way that we treat spirituality is just a very limited model that needs to be refined, the same way that calling atoms the smallest thing in the universe was the model in the late early 1900s, and now we know that it's not actually that way. Is that about right?
Oh, yeah, right. And just like when we look at the creation story, all right, Adam and Eve. Mm-hmm. Now, as your mind processes, as your mind grows, like when you're a child, you can take that whole cloth, the Adam and Eve story, just like the stork, the Easter Bunny, Santa Claus. You can take that whole cloth. But as you grow and your mind matures and develops and your understanding broadens, then you're able to separate what's not true in reality from what is, to a certain extent, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
And so, how do we do that with spirituality then?
But here's what I'm saying. When I remember as a child, I think the first readers that I got, books to read, I was taught how to read by animals. That was Tip and Mitten. That was a puppy and a kitten. Now, I don't know why they use animals to teach us how to read, but I guess it was something in our brain that made that more simple for us to identify with. But after a while, we moved away from Tip and Mitten, and we moved into writing and understanding prose and questions and so forth and so on. So Tip and Mitten went away. That was good in our childhood. So just like the Bible was written years and years ago, and people could take the creation story whole cloth according to their understanding at the time. But science has come along and showed us that it couldn't have Adam and Eve could not possibly happen. That was a figurative story to get man's imagination working on.
Or
God.
Or it was the product of mythology, primitive minds in primitive times, people who didn't really understand the world. And it's not a tool to help ignite the spark of imagination and enlightened thinking so that we can then go truly understand God, but it might just be horseshit, right? It might just be false.
That's what I'm saying. When you find out it's not possible to be true, then you can look at the mythology of the story and see if there's anything in it that it was trying to represent at that time that people just couldn't comprehend.
You and I are not too far off at the moment. I'm going to jump in because I want to make sure we have momentum and can get to some other calls. I'm hearing some challenging things. First of all, you are ascribing agency to the book of Genesis, that the story exists as parable, metaphor, something in the abstract to help spark the imagination, to evolve our thinking so that we can then propel ourselves into a greater understanding of the cosmos. Or it was just people believing wrong or dumb shit, right? Which is something totally different. Secondly, I'm hearing aspects of the divine hiddenness challenge. God is whoever he or she or it is, exists somewhere out there, but we must then have to sharpen our intellectual knives to be able to properly pursue that God, understand that God. The implication there is that someone who doesn't have the benefit of what my friend Catherine Stewart calls the knowledge economy, someone who's not given the tools to properly understand, that means they're locked out of any discovery of God. So does God prefer the intelligent and educated over those who might have cognitive limitations and no access to schools and books and facts? You know, all of this stuff sounds very lofty until you actually listen to it. And most of it, I think, sounds like a God that purposefully hides himself, makes himself an unsolvable puzzle, and then watches 8 billion people scramble with different versions of whatever God they're trying to find or not find, and does or says nothing to make himself known to our limited brains. And so I don't find this a compelling argument, man. You know, I just don't.
Well, let me ask you this here. Now, this is the way I understand it. Mm-hmm. The way I understand it is that Einstein got his theory of relativity from a dream. He had something in a dream. Go ahead.
That's not the story I heard.
I'm saying the way I understood it, the way I received it was that he got.
I also had a dream that I was swimming in an Olympic-sized pool filled with cottage cheese, and I was wearing a raccoon costume.
But you're taking me away from my point I'm trying to make on that.
That's my fault. Go ahead.
But I'm saying, and I'm asking the question, I'm really asking the question, how, if he didn't get it in a dream, then how did he get it?
By just seriously thinking it out.
Right. But he got the imagination. he got the imagination from it, from a dream. And the dream troubled him. And go ahead. That's how I'm thinking I received it. Go ahead. Explain to him how
right. So James, the way that I heard he came up with it was actually by looking at a mirror on a train. Yeah, the way that I heard, the story I heard was that he was looking at himself in a mirror on a train and thinking about light physics while he and the train was moving. And then he kind of like sat down and had a thought experiment and reasoned it out. But let's say he did come up with it in a dream. What would that matter? Why would that make any difference?
Now, hold on. One thing I want to... Now, you heard that, but you don't know that for sure, right? That he saw it on the train?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Or was the train
he did write a book about it, which we could go check.
That's what I'm talking about. So, could the train have been a dream?
Maybe. Like I said, I don't know for sure. But my question is, what does it matter?
Hold on. I'm gonna end it right here, and I'm gonna let y'all go back to whatever you're doing. But here's another thing I want to put before you. Now, when Jesus rose from the dead, and he came into a room where his apostles were gathered together. Yeah. There were 10 of them there, but Thomas wasn't there. Now,
I know this story very well.
When Thomas got there, Jesus wasn't there. So the other 10 told him that Jesus had come in. Now, Thomas say, "Who do you think I am, Sam Sasha's head or something? I saw them kill him." Now, why are you telling me this stuff like that? So they said, and he said, "Well, I won't believe it until I see him for myself."
Mm-hmm. So and then he put his fingers in the holes in his hand and his feet in the side, and only then did he believe. That's right.
Right. So what Jesus said, blessed are those who believe without sin. Mm-hmm. But then that don't stop the one who perseveres to see for himself not to receive the same blessing. So Thomas said, I won't see it till I'm able to physically
I'm good, Forrest.
Manipulate it.
So the dominance hierarchy is nested in existential silence. I just went to the Peterson website to try to put a cap on this one. You must take it on faith, but you will need to stretch your intellectual muscles to better. Look, you can raise your voice. You're welcome to raise your voice, but it's probably not going to further our conversation.
I'm trying to get off.
You hear the even tone, the even temper of my voice?
I'm trying to get off.
Having a conversation.
I'm trying to get off. So anyway, I'm trying to get off the
first
station.
Word.
But what I'm saying is,
sounds like.
I'm saying.
What's your?
I'm saying that Thomas. I'm saying that Thomas is science, and the other 10 were faith. But they came to the same conclusion.
Thomas is better. Thomas is better.
Right.
And that's the thing.
He has the physical evidence.
So let me ask you one quick question, James, and then we will we'll move on. But like, you talked about a lot of things. So you gave a lot of different examples. And like you talk about the stories you had when you were a kid, or you learned from talking. Think of Aesop's fables, right? The lion and the mouse, and like it teaches a valuable moral lesson about not being arrogant and stuff. But there certainly weren't actually talking animals, And so like you talk about doubting Thomas, that Thomas is science and the other 10 are faith. My question to you with all of these things, should we believe in stuff when we have a reason and evidence to believe in it, or before?
Well, that's the $64,000 question. Some can receive it by faith without having the evidence.
But is there anything?
But it's going to be.
Is there anything at all, James? James, is there anything at all that you could believe? Is there anything at all that you could not believe based on faith?
You don't have to believe anything based on faith. Just a person who believes by faith has to produce the evidence.
James, I'm just asking, is there anything in the world that you could not believe based on faith?
That you could not believe based on faith?
Yeah.
Is there anything that you could not believe based on faith?
Right.
Yeah, you can't disbelieve the fact that you hear, and you can't can't disbelieve
certainly
the
you
fact
can.
that you're gonna die. No,
Certainly you
can't.
can. You can believe that you're immortal and be wrong, and you can believe you're a brain in a jar or a computer simulation.
You missed I must have just explained it to you now. You cannot not believe that you are here personally. You cannot believe that you are not.
All right, so I don't want to get in the weeds on it. So let's acquiesce that. So there's exactly one thing that you cannot believe based on faith. We'll just agree on that for now, just for the sake of this. Is there anything that you can't believe? Is there two? Fine. There are exactly two things that you can't believe based on faith. Why not? I'll agree for that.
Probably more. This is two that I'm just bringing up. Probably more.
Just for the sake of argument. Right, just for the sake of argument, we'll say that's right. The question is, James, is there anything you can't believe using logic, reason, and evidence? Is there anything you can't believe?
That you can't believe using reason? No. You can believe anything you want to believe.
That's not true. You need evidence. You can only believe things if you have evidence.
Not to believe something you don't need. You don't need evidence to believe something.
That's why I'm asking. Using logic, reason, evidence, scientific thinking. Thomas, if you're thinking like Thomas and you're using science, is there anything that you cannot believe?
I really don't understand the question. I'm getting. It's hard for me to understand the way you're putting the question.
That's fine. I'll jump to the point and then we'll wrap up. Well, I'll just jump to the point. The point that I'm trying to make to you is that I could believe just about anything that I possibly wanted to, almost anything at all, just based on faith, because I just believe it because I want to believe it. But if I care about evidence and I care about reason and I care about logic and I care about critical thinking, if I'm acting like Thomas and I'm believing in caring about science, there are very few things that I could believe. The only things that I can believe are things that I have good reason to believe. And I think that is a way better way to exist. That's the whole point I'm making.
I'm saying, you're a scientist. That's what I'm talking about. So science will eventually prove God. Eventually.
And if it ever does, then I'll believe it. Yeah. But until then, I don't have evidence. Right. I don't have good reason, so I don't.
But you will add to the evidence base.
Maybe. Because until that happens,
the more you learn about the cosmos, then the more you have to learn about the creator of the cosmos.
If I believe there is a creator, which I don't. That's the thing, man.
That's what I'm saying. But you believe, but you believe that it's incomprehensible now, but it can be comprehended. That's why you're a scientist.
It's close enough. Anyway, James, we're going to move on.
We'll talk again. We'll talk again because I'm tired. I've been working all day. I hesitated to call you because I'm kind of tired and beat. I've been working all day, and it's kind of close to my bedtime. But I heard you guys, and I like to talk to you because I think science is very important. How are we going to understand Christianity without science?
I mean, see you later. Flip, dude. I agree with that. All right, take care, James. See you later.
All right.
I'm not a drinker. Nice guy. I'm not a drinker. Honey, mix me up something good back there. I don't care what's in it. Something good.
I don't care what's in it.
I don't
James
care.
is a nice guy. I think James and I think we could come to an understanding if we had a few days to talk.
No,
you know what I mean?
No, you will not come to an understanding. You know, experiential truth is nested immovably in an expression of facts, roughly speaking, according to the Wisdom of Peterson page. I just pulled that up as well because that made as much sense as the last 12 minutes. I'll tell you what's interesting, though, to me, if you and I can actually use this, I don't know, whatever that was, to talk a little bit more. It reveals a little bit of the challenge that we have even within the church. So it's not about works, it's about faith, right? Jesus chastised Thomas for asking for peer review. And of course, you and I are like, Thomas is awesome. Everybody else was like, yay, Jesus. Thomas is like, you better show me some nail holes, man. Otherwise, I'm not buying it. And we think he's my favorite disciple. So Jesus then chastises him. If you read in the New Testament, the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea blown and tossed by the wind. That person should not expect to receive anything from the Lord. Well, science is really a doubt-fueled enterprise. You don't go into a scientific experiment. I'm sure Forrest can say even more eloquently than I can, but I'm just going to tee him up. You then walk in with a belief and then say it's true because it is, and now I'm going to go disprove it, right? Doubting is a healthy part of the human experience and a healthy way to explore our world. And yet doubters were chastised by God for using critical thinking, for demanding evidence. And so I reject this claim that, well, God wants us to develop those skills and flex those muscles and all of those types of things so that he can more effectively reveal himself to us, especially in the context of Christianity, because the Bible itself says that you must believe on faith and not doubt. And if you doubt, God says you shouldn't expect to receive anything from the Father above. So his argument to me totally falls apart. Forrest Valkai, thanks for letting me monologue for a second.
No, I appreciate it. And you know, who would I be to deny someone a monologue? Me of all people. I also think, you know, when you look at that's so the Thomas story is the second part of John 20. And yeah, he says, like, except I shall see in his hands the print of the nails, and put my finger into the prints of the nails, and thrust my hand into his side, I will not believe. And Jesus comes in and says to Thomas, reach hither thy finger, and behold my hands. Reach hither thy hand, and thrust it into my side. Be not faithless, but believing. And that's what happens. Thomas fingers Jesus and then becomes faithful. And it says here at the end, right after that, verse 30, and many other signs truly did Jesus in the presence of his disciples, which are not written in this book. So it isn't just Thomas. Like, Jesus gives lots of proof, lots of evidence to all his disciples. That's what it says right there. And they did so much they didn't even fucking write it down. And yet you are expected to just take it on faith 2,000 years later. Sorry. 2,000 years of the telephone game is not a good reason to believe in a fucking, Jewish zombie. But
you knew exactly what you were doing when you said fingering my hand. You knew exactly what you were going to unleash in the chat and in the viewers.
If you knew it. If you haven't fingered Jesus, you don't have a reason to pray. Put that on a shirt. That's what I'm saying. You know what's crazy? For the first time, and I don't even know how long, the lines are like full of all theists. So we got one agnostic, and you're going to be waiting for a long time. But we got lots of theists. And I want to start. We have two of them that called in yesterday, so I'm gonna we'll talk to them soonly. I leave it up to you. I look at looking at the leftmost numbers, because we number the lines twice for whatever reason on this program. The leftmost number, I'm looking at number 22. I think would be really cool for you specifically, but for both of us a little bit.
Again, I'm easy.
And number 16 sounds like a lot of fun as well. What do you think?
Yeah, pick it. I'm good.
Okay, cool. Let's talk to Kat. Pronouns she, her. Calling in from Nigerian jambalaya. What an interesting flavor combination. That sounds awesome. Who would like to know what the turning away point from religion was for the hosts. Kat, you're on the line with Forrest and Seth. How you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm having an awesome day.
That's great.
Kat, you're a believer in God?
So far.
Are you part of a religious tradition, or is it more of you just believe in a higher power?
Grew up in the church, and I was watching last night, and they like to call themselves non-denominational, but Forrest, it reminded me of when you said that your wife was Baptist-costal?
Baptist-costal. Yeah.
It reminds me more of Baptist and Pentecostal, so
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. She was some weird, unholy mix of those two things.
Definitely a lot of hate preached, and
you're asking us then, what is it that sort of propelled our journey out of a God belief?
Yeah, or out of some kind of spiritual.
Well, I'm interested in your story, which drives the reason for your call. Are you yourself on a journey of doubt, or are you, do you want us? Are you desperate for us to believe in a God? Do you worry about it? I mean, what sort of propels? What motivated your call today?
I've been questioning it for a little bit. Ever since I've been with my spouse, it's kind of been a topic that has been discussed, and more recently, it's become kind of the forefront of my mind. At least I'm working through some stuff internally, and just a lot of the stuff that um, kind of aligns with our situation now doesn't really align with what I learned growing up in the church.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a lot of stuff that's kind of um, become like eye opening. And like I said, I was watching the show last night, and Forrest, you made some excellent points about how like there's a lot of stuff in the Bible that doesn't get taught because they don't want you to know that God is vengeful, evil, that kind of thing. It's just like, but grace. And so now God is the same today, yesterday, and forever. And it's just like, but if he's the same as he was yesterday, then isn't he still that same malicious God?
It's interesting for me to hear you speak. You sound a lot like me when I was finally starting. Fundamental high control religions, they strip you of agency, and they tell you, well, go seek God and let him prove himself. But what they are really saying is go out and ask a few questions. But if the answer isn't Jesus, you did it wrong. You're deceived. You're being misled. Those types of, you're weak. It's you just want to sin. They have all these protections in place. But when people give themselves permission to be curious and to ask the hard questions and to decide maybe there aren't any sacred cows, right? I mean, I propelled forward when I started finally to do my own thinking on what I had always assumed or been brainwashed in. What I hear with you is you're doing your own thinking. You're like, well, wait, does this make sense? I'm not sure. I have some questions. This doesn't necessarily satisfy me. I have real concerns over here. That's amazing to me because you are now doing what many high control cultures say you don't have permission to do. God doesn't want you to do. Your pastor, parent, cleric, authority figure should be doing all the thinking for you. And yet I hear you thinking for yourself. I think that's remarkable. Even my own life, what propelled me forward was about 1,000 things, but a lot of it was just finally deciding I'm going to do my own thinking. No matter what the consequences are, I'm going to try to figure this out. And I took a very difficult journey and came out the other end realizing Christianity was bogus, Islam is bogus, the other fundy faiths were bogus, and there's no evidence for any God anywhere. That's where I fell. I don't know. And I don't think Forrest was ever truly religious. Were you?
I don't know what the fuck I was, but like I had a very similar experience. I did believe in a God for a minute, but it certainly wasn't the Christian God. And then that kind of became like this amorphous, like force of the universe that we're all a part of. And then that kind of became just another word for the world. And then it became sillier and sillier from there. And I hear that a lot when I talk to theists, especially Christians who have gone through this deconversion, where it's like, and the Bible is 100% true and God is good all the time and all the time God is good. And then it's like, okay, well, yeah, the Bible kind of sucks and that's not really a good representation of God. God is actually perfectly loving and good. So the parts in the Bible where he isn't aren't really relevant. And then like, oh, well, also all the parts of the Bible that don't make any sense, we can cut those out too. Since we're cutting parts of the Bible out, we can go ahead and get rid of all those things as well. That's just, and then really the Bible is just corrupted by man. And at the end of the day, it's a relationship with Jesus. It's not about Christianity. It's about the relationship with Jesus. That's what it really is. And then it's, well, actually, when I really think about it, it's not actually about Jesus at all. It's just about God is love. And there's this good feeling that I get when I'm praying. And that's really, really what it comes down to. And then it's not, well, you know what? This God that is like the monotheist, that's not really, it's really everything. Just, it's like a pantheism situation. There's this force, there's this energy, there's something that unites the universe. There's a higher power, a prime mover, something big and out there. And then it's just deism. Well, something had to get this started, but beyond that, there's nothing. It's just whatever kicked this in. And then finally, after all that time, they just finally go to, I don't know what I don't know, and I'm doing my best as a person, and not have surprise, you're an atheist. Welcome to the dark side. We have juvenile humor and existential dread. Welcome. And like that's the deconstruction.
That's really good.
Thank you.
I mean, really encapsulated the stair step because but a lot of people hang out in that spiritual but not religious. I think there's something out there. There's probably a higher power, something set it all in motion. The world is complex. And I think we go on after we die. A lot of people like to hang out. And I totally understand that because the implications of going further can be very, very scary. And honestly, those people don't scare me nearly as much as the people who were going around preaching hellfire and damnation and Christian nation and all those other things. But I was listening to you and I was like, wow, that's really how it goes. It's pretty amazing encapsulation, almost like you're a communicator. It's just,
oh my God.
Wow.
Yeah. Who knew?
The man work.
And my deconstruction story kind of started right in the middle there because I was already pagan. And so I already had these ideas of like, the divine oneness of the universe and all that shit. So yeah, Kat, like I'm curious to know, Seth asked a minute ago, where are you at right now? And I think you gave a fine answer, but like I would like to follow up on that a little bit more, considering all of those things, considering just our experiences and not even our experiences with ourselves, but our experiences talking to lots and lots of people who have deconstructed. Like, where do you see yourself going? Is there a goal? Are you in a place where you don't even know where you want to go next? Like, do you have a vibe about this whole Christianity thing? Like, where are you at and where do you want to be?
I'm not entirely sure. I think part of me is still clinging on to that last little bit of hope that there's something else out there. But I mean, it's grasping at straws at this point because, like I said, everything I was taught growing up was hate, and then now there's people in my life who my church tells me I should hate, but they're decent people. So why should I hate this person if they're a decent person? And
Kat, that happened to me. It was 96. My best friend for 10 years came out to me as gay. I had no idea. And I was a fundy Christian, and I freaked out, and we didn't speak for a year. And I realized that my life was worse without him in it. And so I sort of scratched out that part of the Bible. And I said, God wouldn't judge gay people. And I called him back and I said, I was sorry. And we've been friends ever since. So we've been friends really for 41 years. And that man is one of the most precious people in my life. But it was one of the first times I was conscious of saying, this doesn't make any sense. A worthy God wouldn't judge in that way, wouldn't hate, wouldn't punish, wouldn't demand the execution of gay people, as was commanded in the Old Testament. So to hear you, it just sounds like sounds to me like you got a big heart, and you would want a God that had a big heart as well. And when you see that not represented in the Christian scriptures, I think you have begun to separate yourself from that. Don't let me put words in your mouth. Does that sound close?
Yeah, it's definitely close because it's like, if a higher power created these beings to be this way, why would he then turn around and hate them?
Yeah.
Because if he created them in his own image, somebody somewhere had to be the same way.
Yeah, and I think it's important. Like, what Seth just said is true. This big-hearted God isn't represented in the scriptures. I think it's also important to point out that this big-hearted God isn't represented in reality. Like, any God that would run, no matter what kind of God it is, Christian or not, that would run this world where 24,000 people starve to death every single day, 10,000 of them being children. I'm sorry. Like, I'm not a fan. It's if that God is able to fix that and doesn't, is not worth worshiping. If he isn't able to fix that, why are we calling it a God? What's going on? And if all he did was kickstart the universe and then fucked off, then I have no reason to care. Like, show me it exists, and I'll be like, okay, yeah, that's what happened. But at the end of the day, it just sounds like another way of trying to cram the word God into a scientific understanding of reality, which is what happens a lot. It's like, oh, well, there's this big cosmic blah, 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 and if I squint my eyes and turn my head to the side, I can call that God. Why? We already have words for these things. And if we don't have words for these things, we should fucking learn them.
A much shorter Bible. God created the heavens and the earth. Then he fucked off.
And he fucked off.
I mean, that's one verse. Much more digest. You could easily fit those in Marriott hotel dresser drawers at much, much less expense. But alas, that is not how it worked out. Kat, please forgive me. I am not making light of you. I'm simply making light of God because I can. Do you fear things like hell, damnation, rejection of family, social consequences, something else? I mean, do you have any of that going on?
Yeah, that's still a big part, I think, of why I'm afraid to step that far away, just because it's been taught that, like, if you don't, then you're very clearly going to hell. And like, if I'm struggling with my own sexuality as well, so fearing that if I tell my family, knowing that I would be rejected, has been a really big fear of mine. And that's I, like, when I go home to see them, I still go to church, and then, like, sometimes it feels like that sermon is meant for me, and, like, I fall back into it, and I'm trying to stop doing that because it's hard. It's hard to fully get out of it when you feel like you keep getting sucked back in.
No, that's by design, Kat. Fundamental high control cultures have a series of penalties or pressures designed to keep you in. Let me ask you this. Are your parents, siblings, religious associates, are they living their authentic lives? Are they who they are publicly?
Usually, I mean, it's hard because I see so many contradictions when I'm out in public with my family. Like, we'll be in line at, I don't know, one of the stores buying something, and my mother will make a comment that's, like, really awful about the person, like, in line in front of us, like, really judgy. And it's like, but I thought we're supposed to be, okay with everyone. Like, why are you just out here? Like, you're not judge and jury. God is supposed to be. So
well,
why are we?
I think what I'm asking, the larger umbrella question is, would your mother, father, siblings, religious associates ever let anyone else pressure them into being something other than who they are? Would they ever allow that in their own lives? Did I lose you?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question.
My point is, and maybe now it's a rhetorical point, is that many times the people who are pressuring others to line up lockstep, don't say this, don't do this, don't marry that person, don't vote this way, don't, right? They would never allow that kind of intrusion in their own lives. And it's a huge double standard. See, I hear your voice and I sort of picture your life, and my desire for you is an authentic life, knowing that if there may not be a tomorrow, if there may not be posthumous existence, a heaven or wherever, reincarnation, all those types of things, that means every life, every minute that we live on this planet is precious and irreplaceable. And every minute then that we are not our authentic selves, living our own values, speaking our own minds, knowing who we are, being true to admitting who we are in matters of identity. These become tragic whenever we surrender them to someone else over fear, pressure, something else. So, I mean, you need to take your journey at your speed, but ultimately, who you tell, how much you tell them, under what circumstances you tell them, this is all your choice. If you decide to come out to your family and talk about your doubts, great. If you decide you're going to make your journey about you, absolutely fantastic. I'm just saying my hope for you is an authentic life lived on your terms. You don't have to have the answers, but give yourself permission to do your own thinking and ask the questions without apology. We've all got questions. That's the beauty of waking up every day as a skeptic and a rationalist. Not having all the answers, that makes every day a potential discovery, and that's a beautiful way to live. So, embrace who you are and find a way to live who you are. And if somebody else loses their shit or imposes some sort of draconian consequence or whatever, understand that's their problem. It's their fault. It's something that they put in place. It is a trigger that they have manufactured. It's not your responsibility in this life to keep everybody else comfortable. Does that resonate at all with you, Kat?
Yeah, definitely. Because I'm not living the life I want to because I'm afraid of everyone else's reactions to it.
Yeah,
I feel you.
And let me tell you, if you trim yourself to meet everybody's expectations, you whittle yourself down into nothing really quick. And so I look forward to the day, Kat, that you call us back as an atheist and tell us all about how you and your girlfriend just left the local rock and mineral convention to go surfing, and you didn't care about God or parents the whole time. You didn't think about them once. That's going to be an amazing call for us. But I want to ask you very quickly just two more things that I think are really poignant, and hopefully will help a little bit. Just based off of something that you said a little bit ago, you were talking about how you kind of holding on to this last little shred of hope that this God is real. And I wonder what would be like, setting aside everything with your parents and family and community, all of that fear, just talking about God for a second, what would be so bad if there was no God?
Nothing.
And follow-up question, what about the faith that you have is worth holding on to?
I don't know. I feel like it's something that gives me a little bit of hope still.
Sure.
So
okay. So that you got some hope out of it. Is there anything else that's worth, hoping for?
Some days it doesn't feel like it, honestly.
Yeah. So the reason I ask is because, like, if you're saying you're kind of holding on this last little shred that this might be real, and like, okay, so what are you getting out of it then? You get some hope. Okay. This is one of the things we talk about quite a bit. There are better ways, less emotionally tasking ways to find hope in this world. I don't believe in any kind of a God. I'm full of hope. I'm a very hopeful guy. I'm a giggly little bitch, and I'm real excited about the universe around me at all times. And so, like, I'm full of it, but of hope and excitement. So I can tell you from experience that, like, you don't need anything like this God or this religion or this baggage to get there. So I think what Seth just said is really perfect. Is that, like, whatever your journey is going to look like is totally your choice, but, like, you sort this out for yourself, and everybody else be damned. You deserve to be happy, and you deserve to be you. And if you want to be happy, I recommend being as authentic as possible. And those who mind don't matter, and those who matter don't mind. And as somebody who has gone through the painful sacrifice of cutting out people that were very detrimental to my life because of whatever reason, I can tell you I've never regretted it. I can tell you it hurts and it sucks and it's not easy by any means, but like, holy fuck, I'd rather just be me than be whatever the hell this person wants me to be. If you don't decide who you are, somebody else decides, and you won't like what they choose. So, Kat, do you have anything for us before we proceed to wrap up? Do you have any other questions, comments, concerns, anything else we can answer for you?
No, it's just that's kind of really where I was at after watching last night and today. It's really just kind of given me a little bit more push to kind of question more things.
Let me sort of leave this with you as you get on with the rest of your night. Okay. The goal isn't, we're not here like we want you to go be an atheist, right? The goal is let's go out and try to find what's true. You know, was it Bertrand Russell who said if something is true, we should believe it. And if something is not, we should not. And if we don't know, we should withhold judgment. And so the goal isn't to go out and be, you know, not believe in God. That's not what we want. What we want is for you to be able to go and ask questions honestly and to embrace the honest answers without fear. And if you come across something that we haven't discovered, including the existence of the supernatural, posthumous existence, a heaven, a new life, a God, whatever, if you've got something with meat on it that you want to share with us, you just call us back, because we would, if we are genuine seekers after truth, we would want to know that. So, you know, Robert Greene Ingersoll once said, the more false we destroy, the more room we will make for the true. And I believe that. The more false we destroy, the more oxygen we have, the more space we have to embrace what's real and what's going to help us out in this world and tether us to terra firma, so to speak. You encourage and inspire me, Kat, and it's an honor to have spoken with you today. Thanks for calling.
I just want to give you a couple last things. Number one is there's a great organization that we do a lot of fundraising for called Recovering from Religion. They offer both professional and like peer-based therapy and counseling and just group sessions and people to talk to. They're people who have been where you're at. And when you have questions about, you know, coming to terms with your own identity, with your own sexuality, dealing with family, dealing with rejection, loss of community, all these things that come with freeing yourself from religion, promise you they've been there. And they have people on the line that have been there that are now, because of going through that experience, compelled to volunteer their time to help people like you. So I encourage you, call Recovering from Religion, talk to them a little bit. It's an amazing organization we're very proud to help out with. Also, we have somebody who was a frequent caller on this program for a long time on all of our shows, a awesome person named Maureen. And Maureen called here quite frequently. I've spoken to Maureen a dozen times. And she would just call in and ask the same kind of things you're at. Hey, I'm questioning and I'm curious and I'm just like, this doesn't make any fucking sense. What do you think about this? Like, well, what do you say to that? And like, we talked and we talked and we talked, and she was always just like you, very honest about where she was at, but still had something to hold on to. And listening to your call, I see here in the chat, Maureen actually commented, hope and comfort were my answers as well several months ago. Kat is almost there. So like, you've got people even just here that have been exactly where you are and are dealing with the exact same shit you are and have been to the other side and are doing just fine. So I believe in you, Kat. It just, despite my last scathing statements about faith, I have faith in you. You know what I mean? I think you're going to be just fine.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kat.
Hey, call us back anytime, Kat.
Will do.
Take care.
You know, there are a lot of wrong things said about people who have a religious belief. A lot of them are really derogatory, dismissive, snarky, and just toxic. You know, religion is a mental illness, and the religious are diminished, or they're all haters, or Christians are all Nazis. I mean, you just never know what somebody's going to say about this type of thing. But it's very, demeaning. But having been in the faith myself for 30 years, I really look at, and from the outside looking in, understand how religion, how it has survived and thrived. We get it, right? Religions have great social glue. They are amazing at community. They have put together points of contact, support structures, areas of interest, common interest, whether it's people who are single or people who need child care for their kids or people who just want to enjoy communal music on a Sunday, or maybe they're afraid of dying. And so the idea of God in heaven for them helps them to kind of deal like, oh, what if I'm terrified of death? The idea that I won't die, or that I lost a child, or I lost a parent, or I lost a husband or a wife or a friend. We won't be separated forever. They take comfort in the idea that they will one day be reunited. Their bodies are falling apart. They have a terrible disease. The idea of having a whole body in a next life. I understand. I think we have to look at this with real compassion and understand much of the psychology of belief, and understand that this is one of the reasons that we have to be focused on trying to meet physical needs here in the real world. Because as long as there is suffering, and as long as there is fear, and as long as people are not part of the knowledge economy, they are always going to look to the heavens. They're going to look elsewhere to find the solution, to find the balm. And, it's up to us to try to build heaven on earth, which sounds like a freaking Lifetime movie. I know it sounds saccharine, but it really is true. If this is the only shot we've got, and there's no evidence to believe anything else is the case, then we've got to try to make the solutions and have the goodness and maximize the moments here. And when we do meet those who have religious belief, we need to be compassionate, and we need to realize that they are not lesser. They are not stupid. They are not all of these horrible things that we throw at them. You will find the worst and best in any culture, but we are fellow travelers on this planet. And I think, let's approach people with a God belief as our fellow travelers first, as human beings first. I'm just babbling, Forrest. I don't know if you wanted to piggyback on that, but it just popped into my mind. Oh, okay.
Get it out of your mind.
I think
it was great.
It's good shit, he says. And then I said the good shit, and then I fucked off.
The good shit was said.
That's one verse. One verse in that book.
One verse. It's great. We've got a few other people here, and three of them are people that I talked to yesterday. I kind of want to check on what number 21 is all about, and then go on to number 16 is going to be fun. I think 23, I can tell you from experience, is going to be cool. So do you have a preference?
No, I do not. I trust you. Hit it.
Okay. Let's talk very quickly. I don't want to be, I'm going to be a little selfish because I'm curious.
You decide which one would you like to finger? You decide, Forrest Valkai. I trust you.
Oh, that does change a lot of things. Let's talk to Griger, pronouns he, him, calling in from Oblivious Himbos, who says that I'm spreading false information about physics. Griger, you're on the line with Forrest and Seth. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. Had a good day. Helped my roommate moved and clean the house, whatnot. Yeah.
Right on. So first, you're calling in as a theist. What God do you believe in?
I try and believe in the Christian God. It's something I kind of just read about and study, I guess.
Sweet chicken. Is that where the claim is coming from, that I'm spreading false information about physics? Or do you actually have like some physics background that you think that I'm just saying something wrong? Or like what's the point of the call, I guess is what I'm asking.
It's a general claim about the universe being deterministic. Like when you say that the universe is deterministic, do you mean that, or is that just like it's something that you just kind of say and you mean something more particular?
I don't know if I've ever said that exact word or not. That if someone were to ask me, like, if the universe is mechanistic, yeah, deterministic, I don't know. That's not a phrase that I'm super just vibe. But I don't know. Like, what claim have I made for sure that I can? Because maybe we're just using different vocabulary, and I'm not trying to get caught up on semantics.
No, I'm not trying to get caught up in semantics. I mean, if you said mechanistic, I might have heard it as deterministic. In my head, those are kind of the same word, so that could be the truth.
They kind of are. So, what am I saying that's wrong? Is what I'm asking you.
So the vibration of atoms, even though there's like no heat, they vibrate in a probability space. It's not a deterministic thing. It's a a quantum cloud, basically. You can't actually determine like the speed or the location of any of the atoms until they're actually there. Essentially, I don't understand it, but I just know that it's a probability thing, and I think that you go around saying that, and I don't understand. I don't understand that.
So that's not atoms. What you've just described here is Heisenberg uncertainty principle, which is to say you cannot measure the speed and I believe the direction of a particle, not a whole ass atom. We're talking about tiny subatomic particles here.
And the speed, those two.
Location, speed, yeah, and so like, but also when you talk about probability clouds, that sounds like a lot more like you're talking about electron orbitals than whole atoms. Atoms definitely have a location. Electrons have orbitals, which are clouds of probability. They exist somewhere in this space, probably. That's what that's all about. But also, it's important to point out that would be getting into physical chemistry. I'm not a physical chemist. I'm a biologist. And so, like, that's not my jam. That's just something that I have some training in. With a background in biology, had to take quite a bit of chemistry up to, like, some organic chemistry. But, like, physical chemistry, PChem, is not my area. I would encourage talking to somebody like Dr. Blitz or Dr. Aaron Adair or any of the other physicists that we have from time to time on this show for more on that. What I can say also is that no part of that gets away from the universe being mechanistic. That is the point of physics, is the fact that yes, and chemistry as well. Yes, electrons exist in this probability cloud, and yet, because of the shapes of those final orbitals, as those valence electrons, because of how many valence electrons are there and the shape of those orbitals, we can make accurate testable predictions about what things are going to bond and what shape molecules are going to take. That's the whole point of Vesper theory. So, like, yeah, there's a little bit of, like,
I totally agree with
uncertainty. There's a little bit of uncertainty in terms of, like, what particles are exactly where. That uncertainty does not translate to saying that the universe is not a mechanistic or, like, materialistic thing that follows these set pathways that are predictable.
Okay. So, I mean, so you believe that, like, if you're able to somehow, like, pull out a single and follow a single atom in, like, a glass of water, and you could obviously, I guess, map out all the atoms in the glass of water, that you could predict the state, like, 1 second out, or even just the next day that it'll be in, because what determines the vibration of the atoms is a quantum effect that's indeterministic.
Talk about the vibration of atoms. I'm talking about, like, the behavior of materials.
I'm using layman's terms.
Right, sure. But, like, the point that I'm making when I talk about the universe being mechanistic or deterministic or whatever the hell it is, what it sounds like you're driving at here in terms of what I've said about all this stuff. What I'm talking about is that there are things that, like, set patterns of behaviors, things that we know are going to happen. If X happens, then Y is going to happen, and it's going to happen this way. So, like, if we're talking about atoms, reaction mechanisms exist. You can literally write out exactly.
I'm saying you can't predict X.
Okay.
You said if X,
but we can know X.
Sorry. I don't want to.
Right. You can't. So let's say I agree with that, just for the sake of this. We can't predict X, but we can learn X. We can know X, and everything after X is deterministic.
Doesn't the Heisenberg principle mean we can't know X because you can't measure both its location and speed, and that's actually, like, a legit property of the universe, not like a measurement thing of interference?
Right, but again, that's talking about, as far as I remember, that's talking about subatomic particles. So it's not something to do with, like, our day-to-day lives. The fluctuations of gluons and leptons within carbon atoms does not change the fact that I know carbon has 4 bonding sites, and I can tell you all these different things that carbon can do and the way the reaction mechanism is going to behave. And when you get enough of these things together, you get gravitational effects that do this, and like, all the rest of it is that. So if your point is just to say there's a certain point where we don't know things, if your point is to say there's a certain point where we go small enough that we can't know something, fine. I don't know a way to know that yet. But that doesn't mean that it isn't also mechanistic or deterministic. because we don't know how to measure it, we don't know whether it is or not.
I would say that I don't know any physicist who would say that the vibration of atoms is mechanistic or deterministic. It's probabilistic, and that's a different thing.
Okay.
And the reason why, in the context, just to, like, at least tie it into theism to make like a broader argument, I'm the kind of person where I don't believe you should get rid of a theory unless you like have good reason to say that it's wrong. And it's kind of been the cross-culturally everywhere understanding that the universe is made up of two fundamental realities, and one is basically the unknown and the known, like order and disorder. And that is kind of that fundamental level there. And obviously you can't understand it because it's disorder. You know what I mean? It's the fundamental level of matter that's contradicting, and you can't make sense of it. But I don't know. Tied in with what Seth said, our job is to be a mediator between heaven and earth, which is the mediator between, you think, like order and patterns, and those patterns that actually agree with the earth. And you try and do that in a way that it's the proper order that brings about heaven on earth, basically.
I would say that a reason to get rid of a theory is if you don't have any evidence for it either. And so, like, that's what you're saying here is that this uncertainty principle that neither, just out of curiosity, do you have any formal training in physics?
I like math, but no.
Okay, so neither you or I. Cool. I took some physics and chemistry courses in my undergrad. That's my training in physics. Not enough to call myself a physicist. I wouldn't want to be a part of any physics club that would have me as a member. So neither you nor I are in the least bit qualified or capable of really understanding this thing. And yet, like, what I have been spouting on this show when I talk about this stuff is what I have learned from physicists who do know these things. My understanding of it is the best I can give you, and I don't just repeat what I'm told, unless, if I do, I'm going to mention, like, hey, I learned this, but I don't understand it. Everything that I've talked about so far is my best understanding of these topics. That's it.
So how do you fit in, like, I mean, so you just kind of ignore the problem of the collapse of the wave function and say that's not important. Like the experiments, the double slit stuff, ignore that. It's all deterministic. Is kind of what you're doing. You're saying that, like, one day we'll figure out what's going on there, and there is a physical property that's mechanistically determining it, like it's gravity or something, and you're just going forward.
Nope.
Okay. Well, then how do you make statements like that it's all mechanistic?
Because at a certain point, you can say we aren't able to know a thing. That does not mean the same thing as this is some crazy, super unmechanistic, random, probable, blah, 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 blah. Probability, saying there's a cloud of probability in the orbits of atoms. Probability doesn't mean magic, and probability doesn't mean that it isn't physically determined. It just means that we don't have a high enough resolution model to actually accurately know this stuff. And so we're honest about the limitations of that, but the shit still works. So yes, I agree with you. There's a certain point where we don't know a thing. But when we talk about the double slit experiment or anything else about quantum mechanics, when we talk about the quantum mechanics stuff, I agree with, like, Niels Bohr. If you have not been profoundly shocked by quantum mechanics, you haven't understood it yet. I agree with, I forgot what the other physicist said, who said that if you understand quantum mechanics, you don't understand it. If you think you understand it, you do not. Like, I agree wholeheartedly with those things. These are things that totally go against everything we think we know about the universe. But just because it's mysterious doesn't mean that it's magic. I have no reason to believe such a thing. And none of my friends who do know about this stuff ever give me any hint that that is the case. And so when I talk about mechanistic or deterministic or whatever like that with the universe, I'm just, in my parlance, the way that I'm using that as a biologist, it's just to say that things follow patterns that are predictable, are logical, are testable. And yes, there's a tiny, weird little scale here where things are a little bit strange, but that doesn't give me any reason to say that the rest of the universe doesn't work like that. And as far as what you said, I don't know of a single physicist who wouldn't say these things. I don't know of a single physicist who would say what you're saying. And I encourage you to talk to a physicist about it.
I mean,
we have a couple on this show.
I can bring up some physicists that are very well renowned right now.
But just to be clear,
here's the challenge I have. We've been going for 12 minutes. Nobody gives a shit. That's the problem.
Yeah.
This is so esoteric. It's not remotely an argument for any specific God, certainly a theistic God with a proper name. And if it's about some nebulous other that has left us trying to decide how atoms vibrate, and you're not a physicist in the first place, why are we having this conversation? I want to try to have conversations that are inclusive and have topics, subjects, matter, material that relate to everyday people as they live their lives. If you want to talk about vibrating atoms, you got the wrong show. Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with this. Like, if you you have already said that you have no training in this area, I've admitted that I have minimal training in this area. So if you want to call and talk to Dr. Aaron Adair or Dr. Blitz, they are actual PhDs in physics who can actually detail these things out. And then they can call me. They both have my number and they can be like, yo, Forrest, say it this way next time. And here's why. Dope. But as for right now, we're both talking about things that neither one of us have serious training in and just getting into the semantics of, well, is it really this or is it a vibrating that? And neither of us know what the fuck we're doing.
Thanks for calling, Griger.
I'll just leave you guys.
Have a nice day. It's been an honor to have you on the show. May the Lord bless you and keep you and make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May be with you and you're going out and you're coming in and you're lying down and then you're rising up until that day when you stand before Jesus, on that day when there is no sunset and no dawning. By the way, I would like it said for the record, after that call, my prefrontal cortex has been thoroughly fingered. Back to you, Forrest.
Yeah. Just so weird. Like, I wanted to give... I always welcome criticism. Like, if someone's going to call in and seriously say, hey, you're doing this wrong, I want to give that person some time to tell me to my face what they don't like about what I'm saying. But, like, if we can both sit here and say, I have some training in this, but not enough. You have no training in this at all. And then for 5 minutes after that, we're going to continue digging into like little things like, but is it really just like, why? You interrupted at the exact, but like 2 seconds before I was about to say, what the fuck are we doing here? Like you were just a little less patient than me.
If we get to the point where a conversation is so niche that it excludes almost anybody, or it causes the audience to have almost no interest in what is being said, I think, well, first of all, what kind of an argument for God would that even be? Because it is exclusive by nature, meaning that the vast majority of the people who don't have PhDs in physics aren't going to be able to properly understand the nature of whatever the cosmos or the God of the cosmos is. The second thing is the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, including Griger and his call about vibrations. So sorry, wanted to jump in finally and maybe put a punctuation mark on that. I hope I didn't overstep everybody.
Yeah, how dare you? I also want to throw out there, I got a message in the producer chat here that apparently, I don't know if this was the producers also saying this or if this was just the chat saying it, but apparently it was largely decided by the people watching. People were saying that this Griger is actually someone named John who calls him from time to time and is a transphobe. And like, if you're going to be anti-science about trans people, I don't really care if you're going to call in and try to be super stingy pro-science about physics that you don't have training in. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's what a weird all of that. Let's talk now to Stevie, pronouns he, him, who says that let's talk about how the evidence for the flood or God is moral. Stevie, you're on the line with Forrest and Seth. How you doing today?
Hey, Forrest. Hey, Seth. How y'all doing?
Good. I'm all right. As long as we don't talk about fucking physics. Yeah. So yesterday you talked to me on the Sunday show at Durante. We talked about contradictions in the Bible. We got to this weird point where we had to the whole thing that I accused you of doing was saying anything the Bible doesn't expressly say is now open to your way of filling in like random blanks, and that's kind of where we left that. And then like we mentioned something about the flood, because I said like there's lots of non-science in the Bible, like the fucking flood, that's clearly didn't happen. And you said you would school me, I believe was the words you used, on the flood and prove that it's real. And now you also have in the call screen that you filled out here evidence of the flood or God is moral, which is adding a whole other layer of insanity there. So we got a lot to talk about, Stevie, and not a lot of time to do it.
Yeah, we're not going to be able to talk about both of them, obviously. But yeah, you know, Erica had said the same thing, that she didn't believe there was any evidence for the flood. And so I was actually saving that argument for her. But since you made the remark as well, and I know you're a science guy, I figured I would give you the option as to which one you want to speak about. Either one is fine with me. And then regarding yesterday, you know, anytime you're going to go after contradictions in the Bible, you know, the burden of proof is on you to prove that it is a contradiction. So, you know, and that just didn't happen yesterday. So, and obviously with Durante, it just made it really difficult. But we don't have to go into it because it did get into the weeds.
Yeah, no. What happened was that we pointed out that like literally the argument you have is that technically the Bible didn't not say this, so that's what it probably meant, and that's just not how thinking works, not in a serious sense anyway. But I'm rather would dig into a couple of these things. Seth, I give it to you. You're my friend. You're my guest here. So like, would you rather talk about evidence for the flood for a minute, or do you want to talk about whether or not God is moral? Because I think both of those are very funny topics.
Well, I love the flood story of Genesis chapter 6. I think it's a remarkable story. Often when I'm speaking to apologists, it is my go-to. More than Adam and Eve, more than the atrocities of the Old Testament, more than slavery, more than the virgin birth, more than the book of Revelation. It is, I think, Genesis chapter 6 that has the most utility for debunking the bunk that is the foundational text of Christianity. So I'll start with you, if I may, Stevie. And I don't think it's that Erica doesn't acknowledge the evidence. I think we're talking about the mountains of evidence against a global flood. Yeah. But let's just recap for those joining us late. So, according to the global flood story involving Noah, humankind had become hugely wicked, ultimately because of two cosmically conjured garden nudists who engaged in a rebellious act of fruit munching before they were expelled from the garden, covered up their loins, and then procreated a bunch of sin people. They had the cancer of sin within them. So God's perfect plan goes awry. His solution then is a Rube Goldberg mechanism where everybody on the planet, including those who had no idea what the hell was going on, animals, everybody else, had to be horribly drowned. So God then charges a 500-year-old guy to build a stadium-sized boat out of trees and tar. Penguins walk 8,000 miles from the Antarctic to board this boat, standing next to camels, anacondas, and fruit bats, so it can float on the planet covered in water, which leaves no traces, in fact, only refuting evidence that it ever happened, before Noah sends a bird to do recon to find land. And then once that boat docks, somehow the animals have all survived without having specialized diet. Somehow all of the animals in the ocean have not died because of the mixture in salt and fresh water, etc. Then those 8 people committed incest to create more than 20,000 ethnic groups in about 4,000 years. Are we talking about the same story there?
I mean, you characterized it a certain way, but yeah, that's pretty much the story.
That's pretty much the story. Okay. Well, I just want to make sure we're talking about the same thing. So, okay. All right. Gotcha.
I think you characterized it quite fun. That was literally word for word what like this. It wasn't flowery.
Was right from the Bible. The way he did that was right from the Bible. Yeah.
No, it's an awesome story. And it's just filled with all kinds of little gems. Like God speaks to Noah in such specific terms, down to the cubit, that he knows exactly how to build the ark. And then as Noah's floating around, God goes mute. And the only way for Noah to find land is to send the bird to hopefully bring back an olive branch, while God could have just said, hey, Noah, land is there. But it wouldn't have mattered anyway, because the boat didn't have a sail, a motor, or a rudder. They could have been 50 yards from shore and the ark would have floated right on by. I mean, there's all kinds of good stuff in the Noah's Ark story, and it's mostly has utility for debunking the entire thing. The story refutes itself. You want to tell me why it's true?
Well, that's my next question, actually, I mean, I was going to talk about physical evidence for the flood. You're talking about more biblical, the textual
claims,
evidence.
Truth.
Which one would you rather
in the Bible, right? So do you want to talk about the truth claim? The Bible is presenting this as a matter of record. And the facts that I gave you, those facts, no matter how I phrase them, remain the facts. So would you like to tell me what about those facts sound reasonable to you? The 500-year-old guy, the penguins walking into the desert, those types of things?
Well, first of all, if there is a God that created the earth and all the animals and everything like that, it wouldn't be out of his capability to bring forth the animals and put them on the ark. Okay, so that's not really a huge problem.
Here we are again. Now, the Bible didn't say that didn't happen, so that's what we must assume.
So God could have given the penguins like little ice jackets and made it, he could have miracled them a survival mechanism for the desert of the Middle East as they boarded the ark next to the camels and the anacondas and the fruit bats and the hamsters and the house cats. Is that right?
I guess my question is, do you think that it would not be a miracle for all these animals to come together? Is that what you're trying to say?
I'm saying you could take any claim anywhere with any religion, any mythology, and say, and then a miracle happened. And to someone that might make sense, but that's not how we operate in the real world. God made the penguins survive an 8,000-mile journey to board the desert ark because a miracle happened is not an impressive way for us to determine whether or not this makes any sense. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I mean, again, that's not really what I came on here to talk about, but like I said,
I want to talk about it.
No, of course not.
If you're
made sense. Of course you're not here to talk about it.
No, you brought up the flood. I'm curious. I'm all ears.
Hold on, guys. So if God created the earth and God created the heavens, it's not out of God's lack of power that he could not bring these animals together. Now the ark, the dimensions of the ark, we know the dimensions because they're written in the Bible. That ark, I believe it was 50 feet tall, roughly. It had, you could have up to 3 decks on there, 3 good-sized decks. The total square footage, some mathematician worked it out to be over 100,000 square feet. So is it possible that God brought
just to be clear?
Hang on.
Just to be clear, isn't, sorry, if I may, that just a footnote, isn't nearly big enough to actually fit all species in the world, and also is significantly bigger than the actual largest wooden ship that ever sailed, which immediately ripped itself apart by the ocean, but by the motion of the waves that caused it to bend and twist differentially on the 2 vastly different sides, and so it just shredded itself to pieces, and it was significantly smaller than the ark is supposed to be. Seth, what were you saying?
On top of that, the construction of the ark, we are expected to believe that even if we came down to kinds of animals instead of species, and kinds is not a thing, by the way, that's a horseshit apologetic that people like to throw out. We're talking about animals from across the world, all around the world, on a single boat. You're talking about thousands of tons of animal waste inside a boat with 1 window. And Noah and his family somehow were able to shovel all of this stuff out of the window while simultaneously not dying of methane poisoning. Does this make sense to you? Does that sound reasonable?
What is reasonable is if you read Genesis, it talks about God putting Adam to sleep. So it's very possible that these animals could have been hibernating or sleeping.
And again,
so hang on.
Just to be clear,
what you're saying is,
here we are again,
and then
Stevie.
a miracle happened, is what you're saying. And then a miracle
I never
happened.
said it wasn't a miracle.
Okay.
I never said it wasn't a miracle.
That's the thing, is that here we are once again,
go around and
just
round,
like
but
the entire call last night. Just like the entire, see, that's a very funny thing to say, because just like last night, when we talked about the contradictions in Genesis, and when we talked about the contradictions in the 4 Gospels in the New Testament, when we talked about all these things, your recurring answer was, the Bible doesn't say this, but it does explain it away, so we can assume that's the case. And here we are yet again. The Bible says absolutely nothing about Noah and his family going into some magical sleep, or the animals going into some magical sleep where they just don't fart for 7 months, or any of these other things. It doesn't say any of that, but that explains away the very reasonable problem that Seth just brought up. How did all the land plants survive under salt water high enough to cover the tallest mountains on the earth for 7 months? How did coral reefs, which need shallow water, survive under oceans deep enough to cover the tallest mountain for 7 months? Why are whales and fish and dolphins and shit, which can swim in the ocean, why are they not being punished by God the way that giraffes and gophers are being punished for the sins of mankind? There are so many problems and redundancies and absurdities and contradictions in this story. It's not even fucking funny. Not to mention the fact that, as Seth rightly pointed out, there is no evidence for this and strong, undeniable evidence against it. And the best you've got, Stevie, is that maybe something the Bible didn't say happened might have happened, and it was magic. And that explains it. And the only way that works is if you just decided that the Bible is true no matter what. If you actually gave a damn about critical thinking, or actually looking for evidence and basing your beliefs on what you have a reason to believe in, you could never believe in this absurd story about a deeply incestuous family on a boat. And by the way, no other boats in the world work. Because whatever, because another miracle.
Nobody else on the planet had a watercraft. That's awesome.
No.
Okay. Again,
every other boat in the world sprung a leak.
It's everyone. Okay. And then the geologic column totally reshifted so that it, apparently would look like.
Am I able to?
And then all the animals died.
Okay.
And then all the animals died, not in order of who's biggest and who would drown first, but in order of increasing complexity, so that eventually, a few thousand years later, it'll look a fuckload like evolution, just for fun.
Okay.
Go ahead, Stevie.
I came on here to talk about the evidence. You guys aren't letting me talk about the evidence. There's a lot of evidence. And you continue to hit me over the head with the biblical account, but you're not letting me talk about the evidence. So
no, just to be clear, we're hitting you over the head with the biblical account because last night you said the Bible is perfectly 100% completely true. So, yeah.
Okay.
But also, I would love to hear if you have non-biblical evidence for the flood. Let's hear it.
Okay, first of all, Forrest, just because one person writes an account about an earthquake and somebody else doesn't, that's not a crazy thing.
We're talking about the flood.
I think I know, but you're mischaracterizing our conversation yesterday. It makes total sense what I said. Just because you don't like the answer, you're saying what you're saying. But anyways, let's talk about evidence for the flood. Have you guys heard of polystrate fossils before?
Enlighten us.
Okay, polystrate fossils are fossils which go through multiple layers. Okay, there are trees that we have found throughout the world that are vertical in the column, the sediment columns, that go through many years, geological time years of sediment layers. An example is trees which go through hundreds of thousands of years of rock. Okay, now if the flood did not happen, that would be impossible. Okay, because the tree would have rotted away within the hundreds of thousands of years it would have taken to bury it. So how can a tree? So this is my question for you guys: how do you explain a tree that is going through 100,000 years, hundreds of thousands of years worth of geological layering?
Are you familiar with Steno's laws?
Enlighten me.
Yeah, so Steno's laws are the foundation of geology, of what we know about how rocks work. And the first things they have is the laws of superpositioning, how these strata are laid down. And they're very simple. The first one is that the lower down strata these different rock layers are, the older they are. The youngest ones are on top. Another one is that they're continuous across the landscape. So even if you're missing one here, the one band of the same kind of rock going across is of the same age. And more importantly is that if you have something that's protruding through several different layers, that is the youngest thing. So if you have something that this rock layer goes down, several different layers going down to say 1 million years or whatever like that, and you have something that's jutting through several layers all the way down to that 1 million years one, you don't assume that that thing has been laying there for over 1 million years as layer after layer after layer after layer is deposited around it. You can make the logical inference, as is backed by evidence, that these rock layers were there, and then this thing squanched up in there somehow or another, either by being buried or by some other form of deposit, by folding. You see rock layers that are bent and warped and upside down because of geologic activity that folds and bends and flips them. Somehow or another, this thing intruded through several rock layers. It is the youngest thing there. So I'm not a geologist, I'm a biologist, but I know enough about geology to know that basic principle. If you're talking about a tree or something that is in several rock layers, it's a younger tree than the rock layers that it has been in. It makes no sense to assume that the rock layers were deposited around the tree.
Okay, so there's a lot there. So number one, these trees don't have roots. So these trees were transported to this location. Number two, there's only really two explanations for this. Okay, so either
I bet you there isn't. I bet you there's another one you're not going to say.
All right. Well, anyways, either the tree stayed put for hundreds of thousands, millions of years while the layers slowly went on it, and it somehow didn't rot away, which is impossible. So we know that's not it. Or perhaps what happened was all those layers were put down quickly, and the tree got stuck there during what I would say is the flood. So what you're saying is, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that you think that magic put that in there, and you have no other explanation other than magic, that tree goes through hundreds of thousands or millions of years worth of layers. So explain how I'm wrong on that.
Stevie, it is deeply funny that you would accuse me of promoting magic as an explanation when you literally just explained away several different things using magic. No.
There's a reason I use that word.
Right. Yes. You are a person who's calling in promoting magic, accusing me of assuming magic, while I literally just explained to you that one of the foundational principles of geology explains the phenomenon you're talking about and doesn't rely on magic. There are lots of ways in which geological activity can cause rock layers to bend or fold or even flip upside down. And yes, intrusions can happen. Things can penetrate through them through a variety of mechanisms that I'm not a geologist, so I'm not going to dig into too hard, but we know they happen. And those things that we actually can test and understand and that don't violate everything we know about geology the way the flood does, those things are more likely, none of which are magic.
Okay, so first of all, that's called circular reasoning. You whenever you look at evidence, you have to look at that evidence and it has to stand on its own before you go and bring in all the other evidence to give yourself bias. Okay, now you can look at other evidence to see if it intersects, but you can't sit there and say, well, this defies all the other evidence, therefore I'm going to ignore this evidence. That is not scientific.
So again, it does not defy all the evidence, and I have not ignored any evidence. I am literally explaining one of the foundational principles of the field of geology.
Okay, so let me give you another example that I think you're going to have a hard time with this one. There is a whale, an 80-foot whale.
I won't.
Okay, there is a whale that's 80 feet long or 80 feet tall or whatever.
Sure.
In 1976, found in California, fossilized whale. It is buried vertical or almost vertical. So just like the tree, we have a whale now, which is buried vertical through hundreds of thousands of years of layers. And you basically are just saying there's a principle and that explains it, which is basically like saying magic. So how do you explain the whale now? Are you going to say the same thing or is there something different?
Give me 2 seconds.
And by the way, we all believe in magic. I just have a magician, and you have no magician for your magic.
Jesus Christ!
So
how much longer do we have to listen to Stevie? When do we get to squanch the call? By the way, is squanch actually a word?
You have no answer for the evidence.
I think it's a great word.
I heard you say squanch, and I think if that's not a word, it needs to be. Squanch a word? Hang on.
Squanch is a great word. I use it frequently. So I just took some time to look this up because I've never heard of this vertical whale fossil. Well, very interesting. And literally the first thing I found here is from Talk Origins. This is from 1995, and this is talking about how there's references to a fossil whale found in California that was alleged to have been buried and fossilized in a vertical position by creationists, and they tell all these different accounts of this whale in different ways. They then go on to point out that this is just a story. This is just something that people have been saying that isn't. This is just another claim. Let's see here. Let's see your degree. Here we go.
You're going to deny it. Okay.
This person took liberty with the facts and lacked very important information. The skeleton was not found in a vertical position. It was laying at an angle, 50 to 40 degrees from the horizontal. Although at this angle, the whale skeleton lay parallel to the bedding of the strata. At one time, the seafloor where it fell, so the strata had just shifted. These facts were confirmed by inquiring with the people at the Los Angeles Museum of Natural History who excavated the whale. Nothing has been published on the whale since then because they clearly identified it as just a random fucking whale fossil. So this fossil was laid down perfectly horizontally, and then there was some tectonic shift, which you'd expect in California, and that caused there to be a slight angle to the fossil when it was excavated, putting it at a 40 to 50 degree angle, not a vertical angle. And creationists heard there's a fossil at a weird angle, and they ran with it and turned it into a whole fucking story where the whale got more and more upright over time until finally it was completely vertical, and nobody thought to fucking fact check it. This is literally, it took me just 1 second of Googling that, and I found the first thing, which has actual citations as well to back this up. So yeah, I'm going to deny that you know what the fuck you're talking about. And furthermore, like the thing that I think is really important is that even if we had some crazy shit like this that we didn't understand, not understanding something is not a reason to come up with a magical explanation. I know you tried to put out some bullshit provocative language there. Oh, we all believe in magic. No, we fucking don't. Because when I don't understand something, I'm willing to just say, I don't fucking know. And I hope to know someday.
That sounds
familiar. I don't have to invent a magical story where some guy did it. That's just not how real thinking works, Stevie.
So that sounds a lot like aliens at the first Thanksgiving to me. I mean, you're literally using the same flawed argument that you accuse me of doing. You're denying the evidence. This was found in 1976 by, what's his name? Juman. His name is Juneman in an article in 1976. So it is a real thing. Now, if you want to say that the ground shifted, that's fine. I mean, I that's at least something.
As evidenced by the fact that the strata were also in the same position, shifted at the same angle.
I didn't see that, but that's fine. I'll double check it.
No, because you didn't think to care.
No, I did think to care. It didn't say that, but that's fine. If that's what you want to say, that's fine. It doesn't explain the trees like we talked about earlier. Now, let me ask you this.
Polystrate fossils are not a disproof of evolution because of Steno's laws.
Let me ask you a question. When strata moves or when it shifts, is it soft when it shifts or like when it folds, for example? I mean, is that
I don't know. I'm not a
Hard?
geologist.
Okay, well, if it's hard, it would break if it folds, which is not what we see. We see
which is the stupid ass argument that Answers in Genesis makes about it, which is why geologists don't listen to Answers in Genesis.
So again, you're going to deny the evidence.
No, I'm denying.
Clearly, your bias going
Stevie, do you have any formal training in geology?
No, I don't have formal training in geology, but I can rely on the
Neither do I.
The people that have degrees.
Neither do I, Stevie. I'm a biologist. I have a lot of training in biology, not geology. But what I do know,
are you saying you don't want to talk about this anymore? Is that what you're saying? You want to move on because this
Stevie,
is over your head?
I actually dare you to grapple with what I'm actually saying rather than what you wish I was saying. No. I'm not saying that I don't want to talk any of this anymore because it's over my head. What I'm saying is that the talking points you're throwing out here are bullshit from Answers in Genesis, which is a laughable organization. It is so fucking bad that other creationist organizations fucking stay away from them as far as I see. And that's the best you're presenting to me here. Meanwhile, I actually do know some geologists. I studied under one for my second master's. He knew rocks better than I know myself. And I tell you, this guy who actually knows what the fuck he's talking about certainly isn't convinced by any of the shit that you're saying, and I guarantee he's heard it. Meanwhile, I don't know if rocks are soft when they're bent or anything like that. I do know that pressure and temperature can massively change the way that you think they would behave. I do know that rocks under immense pressure can bend without breaking the way that you expect them to. I do know those basic things, but that's not my area of expertise, so I'm not going to sit here and give you a bunch of bullshit about it. When I did fact check it, I made sure I found something with citations that actually mattered. What you've got is a story of a story of a story passed by other lying creationists onto you.
I gave you the name of the doctor. I gave you the name of the doctor. I can give you the name of his paper if you want.
You gave me the name of one guy. One guy. You know there are PhDs that work for Answers in Genesis, right?
Yes, there's scholars on both sides. That's why it kind of reveals your bias.
Yes, how many scholars?
You're shutting
what is
down
the distribution? What is the distribution of scholars on both sides, Stevie? Is it 50-50 or is it 99-1?
I'm going to answer the question. And before I do, I just want to clarify. Are you saying that the majority opinion is the right opinion? Is that because I don't think history is going to be too kind for you if that's your argument.
Is that what I said or is that what you wish I said, Stevie?
No, that is what you said. You said who has the majority opinion. That's what you said. So now you want to walk it back. Is that what you're saying?
I have
that is what I asked.
I have a thought. Our rapid firing of calls is not rapid firing. Stevie,
I think you're absolutely right.
Thanks for calling.
Yeah, this is boring as fuck, Stevie.
Huh? Really,
Stevie, it's true. Wildly intimidated by you. I am overwhelmed by the weight of content that you've brought to the show tonight. Yahweh himself would give you a gold star. I can hear the angels singing above. Thank you for bringing your great wisdom to SkepTalk on Monday night. We all thank you profusely. Good night.
You were about to give us very strong evidence. It only took 28 minutes for you to be about to give us the evidence. Stevie, you are fucking full of yourself. There is no more room for God in there. I'm fucking bored. I think what it shows, Stevie, is that you are a self-important fucking prick who thinks that you know better than the fucking actual experts who work on this stuff because you read a paper from a bullshit pseudoscience cult that says so. It is unbelievably boring to listen to you because you cannot grapple with what's actually being asked. All you can do is put words in our mouth and say, oh, so what you're actually saying is this dumb thing. You live on straw man arguments and pseudoscientific babble. It fucking sucks. I encourage you to call back sometime when you're willing to be honest and try actually thinking. people not caring about your dumb shit is not the same as them not being able to handle the evidence. Learn the difference between can't and won't. It's not that I can't handle what you're saying, is that I won't waste my fucking time with you anymore. Good gravy, Stevie. Grow the fuck up.
God, this is 29 minutes with Stevie. 29 minutes of life. And all I have to say to that is Pinocchio as the archetype is reborn, independent balance from the wisdom of Peterson website. That's all I have to say.
It's true. Stevie would agree, I believe. We got one more. And then we're going to do super chats, and we're all going to go to bed. Let's talk to HC. Calling in from Tiny Nipples, who talked to us yesterday and wants to explore a little bit about the morality of God. HC, you're on the line with Forrest and Seth. How you doing today?
I'm back, everybody.
Hey.
All right. Hello, Seth. Is that his name?
I'm Seth. Nice to meet you. What's on your mind? Let's go.
Nice to meet you. All right. So, Seth, do you think the God of the Bible is moral?
The God as depicted in the Bible is not a moral creature, no.
So, like, what passages make you the most upset?
This is much too long a list for me to get into here. If I was to synopsize, it would be the nature of, the God who would create, first of all, a plan that failed in pretty much the third chapter of the story, and then continued to fail throughout the Old and then the New Testament, a God who somehow knows everything but is still surprised, which is revealed in his anger whenever shit goes down. The God who would be the architect of hell, who would threaten and demand the execution of homosexuals, who would accept child sacrifice, who would watch and even enjoy the genocide of a city of 500,000 people, hell, even 5,000 people. A God that would favor one tribe over all others, essentially promoting racism. A God that would, decide to save the world from a problem he created. He would impregnate an unwed teenager via ghost sex so the offspring could become a bloody meat puppet to be not documented 2,000 years after, it supposedly happened. You and I are still trying to figure out what the hell's going on. I just think, I don't think that's a moral God. That God is not just inept, but is also, and by his own admission, that God is jealous and filled with wrath. Yeah.
Hey, I didn't really mean to try to. I didn't mean to come off rude to you. I just wanted to apologize about that.
I didn't sense rudeness. I didn't sense rudeness. I guess my long answer, it should be a short answer. I think the God who would be the architect of atrocity, who would create and implement hell, and who would be responsible for what supposedly are documented rules, commands, and examples of those commands being carried out in the Old and New Testament, that God is not a moral God. Okay?
Okay. Thank you.
Do you have any further questions, HC?
What now?
Do you have any further questions?
I was just gonna say, like, for yesterday you were talking about the story about the fire and the incense. So you do not think you misinterpreted that at all? I saw some on the comment section of the video kind of talking about it.
Yeah. I don't think I did. But let's say I did. Let's say that there's actually some other way to read that. What I think Seth just pointed out in that what he was saying there is that, like, even maybe I did misinterpreted that one. There are so many other parts of the Bible where God is an absolute fucking monster. There's no way we misinterpreted all of them. We just literally on that last call we were talking about, the flood. I actually have my Bible open to the flood story right here because we were talking about it, and I took some notes in here. God regrets making humans. He says himself, I regret making you. He then kills every fucking thing that breathes air, not just humans. He's so upset that he made his children that he doesn't just kill them. He kills every dog, every cat, every giraffe, every hippopotamus, every polar bear, every weasel, every fucking gopher, everything. Every land animal dies except for this, one family and a couple of animals on a big ass boat, including one thing that I is a little offsuit, but like one thing I wish I'd gotten to talk to Stevie about is who got the STIs on the boat, Who did Noah have unprotected sex with in order to make sure that like Trichomonas was on the ark so it could be proliferated today? That's what I want. You know what I mean? Like, but the point is, man, is that like when you look at this story, he just all flesh died that moved upon the earth, both the fowl and the cattle and the beast and every creeping thing that creep upon the earth and every man, all those whose nostrils had the breath of life, and all that was on the dry land died. Fucking why? How many babies? How many pregnant mothers? How many innocents died? How wicked do people have to be for global genocide to be not only justifiable, but moral? Because this God is supposedly the most moral thing in the universe. Not even mentioning the concept of hell. What is this God, no matter what he's done here on earth? What is this God but unbelievably and reprehensibly and irredeemably evil if he would torture you for all eternity simply for not believing that he's real? So, yeah, maybe I got that one story wrong. I don't think that I did. But if I've learned anything from the Bible, anything at all from the entire text, it's that this God is not worth worshiping, even if he is real.
And I like this. I think the thing that scares me is like, hell, like I'll be separated. All like my family will all be in heaven, and I'll be in hell suffering.
Okay, so blame God. Would you rather be a slave and get to see your family, or would you rather stand up for what's right? And as soon as you do, you shake off the shackles of fear and you realize there's no reason to believe in a hell either. Because HC, I don't believe that you believe and are afraid of all the other hells on offer. You certainly aren't concerned about the Hindu hell and the Muslim hell and the Zoroastrian hell and the Lakota hell and the Abenaki hell and all the other possible afterlives that you may or may not be suffering through at some point. You're not worried about going to Tartarus. So why are you worried about going to hell, which you have as much evidence for?
I guess because they've been telling me that since I was a kid, I guess.
Because you were indoctrinated. Because you were taught a lie that sounded very scary in order to keep you in line. When they stopped telling you that you were going to get coal in your stocking, they started telling you were going to be burned in a lake of fire. That's child abuse, HC. That's what happened to you.
Yeah, it kind of hurts,
Yeah. I recommend you call an organization called Recovering from Religion, which is full of people that have been there and know that hurt intimately. And they have both professional and non-professional counselors that will help you through it. You deserve that. You deserve to be at peace and happy and comfortable and safe so that you can do the hard work of really thinking about whether or not this shit is real or matters.
I guess I'm sorry for calling on tonight. I got too emotional for you guys. Sorry.
You have not offended either Seth or I at all.
Okay. I'm sorry for taking up your time tonight, guys.
You're not taking up my time. My brother, this is a call-in show. You called in, and we chose to take your call. We didn't have to. We dropped plenty of calls. We blocked 3 calls. We had 45 people get a busy signal. We could have not taken your call. We took it because we wanted to. You have nothing to apologize for. If you want to know whether or not we think the God of the Bible is evil, hell yeah, we do. Read the book of Job and tell me I'm wrong. That motherfucker's evil.
I guess I don't know how I can look at all this and go, there's no science to support this. It's just the concept itself is just terrifying because he doesn't stop. And he doesn't have any indication that he'd ever stop doing it either.
So it's not about whether or not this God is actually evil. It's whether or not you're I don't want to say courageous enough, but is whether or not criticizing him will cause you pain.
Yeah.
You're more frightened than you are curious because you've been threatened with something immeasurably harmful in punishment for using the brain that God gave you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you want to ask me if I think it's evil? Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay.
Any God, any God that would equip you with logical faculties and then torture you forever for using them is fucking evil. Any God that would make a person feel the way you're feeling right now, HC, is fucking evil. You're experiencing the evil. It's a good thing he doesn't exist, because such a monster would be a nightmare to have to live under.
I guess I thanks for talking to me, guys. I'm sorry for I wasted your time. Kind of stupid question.
I don't think you wasted my time at all.
I guess I just found you kind of comforting after yesterday. I just had a question. I was just going to ask you what you thought about hell.
Seth, what do you think about hell?
Hell is a mechanism for control. Hell is a tool called fear. Hell is supposed to keep us from asking questions, from tapping on the glass, from thinking for ourselves. And if hell scares you, and it once scared me, one of the antidotes to that is, actually there are two, I think. One is begin to learn the history of hell, the different versions of paradise and pain in other mythologies, and see how they have been used and see who's been plagiarized from who. And then find people who have overcome their own fear of hell and talk to them. There is strength in that, and they will help to encourage you that if God exists and that God was moral, that God would have never come up with a torture chamber in the first place. There's no reason to be tethered to it. And the more we begin to understand how hell has been weaponized to control the population, to indoctrinate and brainwash and really squash the minds of impressionable and vulnerable human beings, especially children, we understand that it's a weapon in that way. It kind of takes some of the power out of it. So keep asking the questions, keep discovering what mythologies have to say about heavens and hells, and keep kicking out there, okay?
All right, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for calling. Appreciate you.
HC, you are not a waste of time. Do not ever apologize or feel bad about reaching out with questions and help, especially on a show like this where we invite that sort of thing. I encourage you to call back anytime I'm hosting and ask more questions. I would love to talk to you.
All right, guys. Thanks. Have a good rest of the night.
Thanks.
You too. Take care.
Like that verse out of Matthew 25, God says, "Depart from me, you who are squanched, into a lake of everlasting fire and damnation." It really does. It's a sobering verse. To be squanched by the Almighty is not a good thing. But we know it's bogus and it's fake, and there's no reason to be afraid of it. It's the monster in the closet, and there's no reason to be controlled by it anymore.
Squanching isn't fake. Squanching is real and serious, and we need to educate people. But like the fire thing, yeah, for sure.
I'm Googling squanching. You start with the super chats, or hang on. Squanch. A simulator for quantum networks. I don't think this is a word. I don't think it's. Oh, wait. Rick and Morty? Squanchy is a cat-like anthropomorphic creature, a very close friend of Rick and bird person. Okay. All right. Well, if Squanchy is a character, then I'll accept Squanch into my lexicon.
I've been using squanch as a general catch-all verb for a while. I think maybe I did first see it on Rick and Morty. I don't know, but like I often talk about, like, I was right within squanching distance of this thing. Like I was, I fell under the hood of my car and just got totally squanched.
All right.
Hey, also I texted you today. You were talking about Facebook, and I was like, "That donks, yo!" And like, I was surprised that was one you called me out for, because I love that as opposed to like that sucks, that blows, whatever. That fucking donks.
I just rolled with it. I thought, well, donk is, I guess, a verb or an adjective, but whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, donkey. All right, yeah,
When something
whatever.
donks.
Yeah.
$9.99 from Balthazar 228. Not to be confused with Balthazar 227. If God actually existed, Erica would enjoy the punishment of the donation reading, as they would have endowed her with all the best things humans can possess. The fact that Erica doesn't love puns, I think absolutely does prove that God isn't real. For sure.
Is Balthazar from Galaxy Quest, or am I thinking of something else? Ryan P, $20. There's a reason you separate military and the police. One fights the enemies of the state, the other serves and protects the people. When the military becomes both, then the enemies of the state tend to become the people. Of course, is a commentary on many of the protests, specifically Los Angeles, going on right now. Something we're watching closely.
Roland Closet Goblin sent $5. Master has returned! Victory Scrooge! I'm assuming that's how that's supposed to be read. I don't know.
That's impressive. That's impressive. How did you squanch your vocal cords to make that sound? It's very
man, if I can actually just ruin your lexicon with mine, that would be fantastic.
You've enhanced my you've really expanded my universe. Roland, $5. Forrest, you've been home for a couple of days. Can you not find your razor? Have you taken a shower? LOL. I like the rough and ready look. The mountain man look about you. Yeah. He's rugged. He's rude. He's Forrest Valkai. Right.
Shower, yes. I'm kind of just having a little bit of more fun with this before I'm about to go to VidCon in a couple of days. We're going to head on another road trip to California for VidCon. I'm an invited guest this year, so I won't have any programming, but I will be there as a guy walking around. So then I'll have to look presentable. But until then, I'm on this program. I don't have to look fancy for you. I'm wearing a fucking Biomed shirt and looking like I haven't shaved in 3 weeks because I haven't. $5 from Thomp 10. I had a bad experience in a debate against some theist. I got very emotional. It didn't go as planned. I feel very discouraged. Any advice? Yeah, shit happens. That's the whole point. You try and you fuck it up and you try again. You don't expect yourself to be perfect all the time. Just learn from that. Do better next time.
I think also practice. I think do situationals. What might they say? How would I respond? I also think if you're going to go in, one of the worst things, I really do believe this, one of the worst things you can do is lose your mind and everybody starts shouting and getting angry, and then the personal insults come and everybody leaves more fortified. I think sometimes, and you've seen me do it on this show, maybe it's a wrong approach, but sometimes even when I hear the stupidest shit, I tend to kind of wink and have a little fun with it. But I try to never lose my cool. And I feel like when we go into those situations, these are hot button issues, the very personal issues. But I also think that we need to be the adults in the room. And I think you need to be prepared. I think you need to practice. And I also think you need to make the first conversation short. You're not going to build Rome in a day. You're not going to convince people in a single conversation. I think you need to go in. Street epistemology is honestly a great way to start. Streetepistemology.org, I believe, is the website, which allows you to go in, break down walls, use the Socratic method, and get out before you find yourself caught up in a highly emotional exchange. I'd give it a shot.
Yeah, there you go. It's like a Carnegie quote: "The best way to get good at speaking is to speak and 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 speak." So the best way to get good at debating and all this stuff is to debate and 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 debate. Absolutely.
And you will improve as you do more of it. But I think a lot of people go in and they just get sucked in. This happens a lot with families. You go in, you're like, well, I'm going to talk to my parents about my own journey. And before you know it, they start asking questions. And then you're like, but the Bible says this. And they're like, but no, but Jesus, but the science and evolution. Before you know it, everything just ramps up. Everybody's screaming. Nobody's listening. There are ways to prevent that in many cases, not all. And I think street epistemology has the keys that you need. Balthazar, $9.99. You can tell Johann Friedrich Blumenbach wasn't a pun enjoyer, or he'd name bonobos, oven troglodytes, as the close relative of chimps. I do not understand. But thank you for the super chat.
$5 from Taj. Do you think it's possible for humans to take another species and artificially select for logical thinking and reasoning like us? Yeah. If you could actually quantify that and demonstrate that as a thing and then only selectively breed for that kind of behavior, probably. We already see that in like vastly different behaviors in like dog breeds. We are like, okay, this one's really good at herding and this one's really good at like alarm calls, and like we're going to breed for that kind of thing. So yeah, if you had a creature that was, you could tell this individual was more logical than that one, and then you bred for that, I'm sure you probably could. I just don't know how you would begin doing such a thing off the top of my head right now.
Tonight I did learn that dogs did not fart on the ark for 7 months, and that was really an epiphany. The plague,
and you know that's true because the Bible doesn't say it.
Why did we evolve to have our form of reasoning logic and to be truth-seeking? Also, if we're just natural beings in a natural world, how can we trust our ability, or be able, rather, to reason? I think the question is that self-defeating. The Plague Bird Man has a question for us. What do you think?
Why did we evolve to have logic and reasoning? We didn't. We are plagued with logical fallacy and illogical thinking and biases and problems, and the first step to learning how to do like actual science is learning how to get out of your own brains, like how to get your brain out of your way, so that you can like criticize the assumptions that people tend to make. And if we're just natural beings, how can we trust our ability to reason? Because it works. I don't have to like guess why my car is a natural thing. How is it going to get me down the road? Because it fucking does. So I can trust it because it produces reliable results. And so our ability to reason and think critically has produced the technology that you are using to see my dumb face at this moment. That's pretty fucking solid evidence for me.
I think it's you or me.
From Fred DeNovo. Seth, I have a regretful comment to share with you. I saw a video thumbnail of yours and mistakenly thought it was Andrew Wilson. It was never my intention to imply that, and I sincerely apologize.
I'm easy. I've been called worse. Bob Saget was probably the worst. I saw your picture and I thought you were Bob Saget. I literally almost ended it all that day. I just almost. So I'm good. I'll take it. I'm easy. Firebird. XX $5. Forrest and Seth, do you think you're the most laid-back duo on the line? Not that you can't have ire, but overall, LOL. Well, I don't know. I'm busy producing content. I don't watch a lot of other content because I'm always in the production room. I'm guessing there are a lot more laid-back people than us, or more. Probably variety, right?
I think it comes with being from Tulsa. We have to be very laid back because if we weren't, we would go insane in this place. You know what I mean?
True.
Yeah, we live in hell here in Oklahoma, and so we just have to be relaxed about it. $4.99 from Life is Literary. Tear me apart if I'm wrong, chat, but I'm fairly certain Einstein did get the idea from a dream. I was interested in Jung's idea about dream psych. I genuinely don't know. I have never heard that story. I heard the whole thing about the mirror on the train. Maybe it was a dream. My question remains, what the fuck does that matter to the point that James is trying to make? But who knows? It maybe. If that is true, I want to know. So let me know in the comments. But like only one person let me know in the comments. If you see that somebody else has commented, don't fucking worry about it. Just comment with a source, and I'll look at that, and then stop. Because I'm fucking... God. I made a video a little while ago, years ago, on Reacteria, and I was like, the first time I'd ever heard of like My Lady of Fatima, or whatever the fuck. And I was like, I have no idea what this is. Let me know in the comments if you want. And to this day, despite the fact that there are 10,000 comments explaining, I still hear somebody say, this is what Fatima's all about. It's like, just if you read the top 300 comments, they're all that. Just one person. Just one person do it, please.
Balthazar is back, $9.99. If you didn't finger Jesus, you going to make me read this shit? No, I'm going to make Forrest read it. Forrest, you read it.
If Seth didn't finger Jesus, he will not come all over Seth and fill Seth with his holy light.
Squanched on that. That one squanched me. Just stop.
See?
Just stop.
It's a catch-all verb. You can put it wherever you want.
Are we 12? Ash, $5. It's Ashley from last night's show. I forgot to ask, what vegetable would Jesus be if he were to appear in Veggie Tales?
He can't.
A kumquat, probably, but I do not.
I would point out that the kumquat is a fruit, but also almost everything.
I was trying to find something funny. Just funny.
No, almost everything in VeggieTales is a fruit. Tomatoes are fruit. Cucumbers are fruit. Squashes are all fruits. Like most of the creatures in VeggieTales are fucking fruit. The only things that aren't are like the asparagus and shit. Also, I've heard this, and if someone knows that it's not true, let me know. But it's a popular internet tale that Jesus is not in VeggieTales because it would be blasphemous to make Jesus a vegetable. And also, that's why the VeggieTales creatures always say Jesus loves you and not Jesus loves us, because vegetables don't have souls and are not worthy of redemption. And so they can't say that because it's blasphemous. And that's very fucking funny to think about.
Got nothing.
It should be called Fruit Tales, though, for real. $5 from Jean Paul. Hey, Forrest, I have a question. You've mentioned being a nihilist before. Why not existentialism or absurdism? I'm just curious, not trying to debate. You could very easily call my position either one of those things. I'm not a philosophace, and so I don't know for sure what is the best category to put my shit in. I just know that the principles of what I've learned to call cosmic nihilism, or what has been presented to me as cosmic nihilism, are 100% the way that I see the universe, and then ancient stoicism is 100% how I see myself. And so when I put those together, I get this weird fucking nihilistic bullshit with a big ass smile on my face. So yeah, I have read a little bit about what existentialism and absurdism are, and like I said, the 110%, you could categorize much of what I say into those things, and I don't know how to argue against it because I'm not a philosophace. Get J Mike to fucking tell you what I am. He'll know.
Christopher McCrae, $5. Big fan of you both. Unfortunately, my topic wasn't picked for tonight. Queer behavior in the animal kingdom, but maybe another time. That sounds like almost a whole show. It'd be fascinating.
I did see your call on the call screen, and I put in to the producer, like, hey, I'm not gonna, this person's gonna wait 1,000 years and not get a good answer. So that's why we didn't take your call. I have no personal, like, anecdotal experience with that sort of thing, but I can tell you that we have observed homosexual behavior in over 1,500 animal species. It is all the fuck over the place. So anybody who says that homosexuality is unnatural, clearly doesn't care about what's actually natural. So yeah, I that's why we didn't take your call, is just because I didn't, seeing what you had written in the call screen there was nothing terribly interesting that I could have given you, and I didn't want you waiting 3 hours to hear me go, oh, no, and hang up. $5 from Firebird XX. Forrest, has the argument about feet bones in whales been, in your experience, a persuasive argument against anti-evolutionists, if not their response? No. Because whales don't have feet bones. They have hip bones and femur bones, and sometimes tibia and fibula bones. But I don't think there are any feet up in there. And no, the whole argument that they have now is that, yes, those bones exist, but they're used for mating. That means they have a purpose, and they just ignore the fact that, like, the leg bones are there as well, and not just the pelvis that anchors those muscles. And also, they ignore the definition of the word exaptation. And also they ignore the fossil record of whales showing those limbs getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And also they ignore other animals like, a lot of pythons and stuff that also have little hip bones and femur bones tucked up in their bodies as well. And also they ignore vestigial structures in general, because they just think that it means that we don't know a thing, and then we just have a faith and blah, blah. Just how about, have you considered? That's about the response that I give to that.
Life is literary. Then $4.99. Always so wholesome to see that the line has a father and his son work together as hosts. Thank you so much for your call. Much appreciated. Thank you.
I'm always happy to have my son Seth on this show.
From the heart.
$6.66 from her ladyship. I don't know, like, is there it's a boat joke. The joke is a boat. It's the word ship in there, and the ship is a lady. Ships, pronouns, pronoun boat genitals, boat bits, lady boat bits. Talking to the this person. If you are comfortable sharing them, what are your thoughts on the National Guard and potentially soon to be the Marines being deployed in LA? I'm not a fan. You've got a bunch of armed strangers with inconsistent uniforms, masks covering their faces, covering their not wearing badges or obscuring their badges, not wearing name tags or obscuring their name tags, clearly and flagrantly violating people's rights. And now we've got that video of that one ICE agent or officer or whoever the fuck it was, like, watching a news reporter give a news report, clearly demonstrating, knowing that person, and then shooting her with rubber bullets. So we just, yeah, I'm not a fucking fan. We've gone very quickly from, like, hey, we're protesting the fact that this ICE thing is bullshit, to now we've got this guy trying to join the IDF, I guess, by fucking, but it's just, it sucks. It sucks, and fuck ICE for real is my stance. What do you think, Seth?
In a sentence or two, this is the authoritarian playbook. Donald Trump wants to declare every one of the dissenters, protesters, free speakers, any critic of him, an enemy of the state and a national emergency. They hate America and they are a danger to our fellow citizens. That's how he will spin it, because he wants to activate the military to crush all opposition. And we are now looking down the barrel of a fascist state. Thank you to the protesters, to the mayors, to the governors, to the courageous people who are standing up and saying, no, we will not. Having said all that, I have tremendous fears that we are entering now a period of civil war. And I'm terrified for the future. And I'm pissed at the 77 million voters who put Trump back in office and unleashed this circus, this tremendous, essentially the Mussolini era of the 21st century on this part of the world. I'm pissed. I'm scared. All I know to do is to keep fighting, to keep protesting, and to encourage others who are doing the same.
I want to make sure to just remind everybody that if you are engaged or plan to be engaged in safe, nonviolent activities, that you make sure that you remain as safe and nonviolent as possible. And that if anybody out there comes alongside you and is trying to encourage you not to be safe and nonviolent in your activities, that you call that person out and make sure everybody knows, stay the fuck away from them, and Google the word agent provocateur, because we have seen that quite a bit in safe, nonviolent activities in the past few years, more than usual. And especially right now, we've got a rogue fucking gang that is marching through our streets, ripping children out of their mother's arms, breaking up families, raiding hospitals, raiding schools, raiding churches. You know that they only care about only attacking the dangerous immigrants, the dangerous illegals, because they are arresting people at their fucking immigration court hearings. So just be aware of the fact that you are dealing with a largely lawless gang of anonymous people who are not identifying themselves properly and not following protocol. That means you don't even fucking know if those people are law enforcement. They could just be Kevin, who went down to the army surplus, bought himself a flak jacket and a gator mask, and rocked out there with an AR-15 and started shoving people around and zip tying people. You don't know the difference. So be fucking careful. But please, please don't stop fighting for this country.
Am I
$10
up or
for
you?
Brandon.
I guess it's you. Go ahead, brother.
Who cares? We're all dying. So $10 from Brandon. How should I handle a coworker who keeps inviting me to church? Last week left a Bible on my desk. I'm trans. I think she may have clocked me. Go to HR. So I would talk to this person directly and say, hey, this is beyond pushy at this point. I've repeatedly told you I'm not interested in this. If I were forcing my religion on you, you certainly would not take it as nicely as I'm taking it. And at this point, this is harassment, and I'm very uncomfortable. And this is now a hostile work environment for me, and I'm taking it to HR if you don't fucking stop. And be prepared to follow up on that. That's what I would do, because that shit's not fucking fun.
And if you have a conversation
one-on-one too,
I would say the words, I am not broken, and I do not need to be fixed.
Mm-hmm. Love that.
Monkey at typewriter, $5. My chemistry teacher said a substance had a positive charge, but she lied. She was found guilty of electron fraud. Now guards keep an eye on her.
That's really good.
Shame.
It's really good. It's really good. Proud of you. The opposite of shame. $4.99 from Gimpy G Gaming. Wait, Forrest was pagan? I thought he said vegan. Well, now I understand why he's on the show at least. No, I'm on the show because I'm adorable. I just happen to also have been pagan in my life and have never been vegan. I'm just not that way. Never been of that persuasion. It's okay. You're born however you are, and I don't judge.
Falcon Storm, $4.99. I got $5 that said at some point he references one of the found arcs, ARCS. Occasionally we will hear, it's a pretty low layer of the creationist verse, but you'll see, well, the ark has been discovered, the ark has been found, whether it was Ararat or some other mountain, and it always turns out to be a mound of dirt or just nothing or Photoshop.
$5 from Soupy Dude. If there was an all-powerful God that made the universe, maybe it wouldn't have needed a genocidal flood at all. Yeah, see, that's the thing. If Stevie had been fucking honest enough to actually deal with the conversation, rather than just saying, "Oh, so what you're saying is this stupid thing," and trying like hell to get a clip in, I would have loved to have talked about not just the fact that there's no evidence for this flood, but also what the fuck is that? What is this flood situation all about? You're telling me the most intelligent creature, your most intelligent creature in the entire universe can't figure out a better way to discipline his own children than to drown them? Sorry. It's just not worth anybody's time to deal with that.
$10 from Untitled Final V2. This version, hi. Very kind. Thanks for the super chat.
Thanks for the fake money. $10, 10 good, honest American freedom dollars from the Mad Bard. It doesn't say Superman can't teleport, so he probably can. It also, the Bible doesn't say Superman wasn't there. So he might have been. That might have been why the ark held together. Fucking Superman was in there, holding it together. That's what it was.
Gates of Delirium, $4.99. These trees can happen because of floods, possibly. That's only one explanation, but it doesn't mean there was a global flood. Nice try, though.
$10 from Untitled Final V2. This version, vertical whales prove God. It's true. It's true, y'all.
That's a t-shirt.
Vertical whale.
That's a t-shirt.
Mm-hmm.
Same user, $10. Transparent aluminum probes vertical whales. Sorry.
What are we saying now? And you apparently you were right. It was proves, and they sent $10 more to tell you that.
No, it's probes. Probes.
This is a completely different chat with completely no context. This is a different thing. They just wanted to say proves with an asterisk, and that's a different thought entirely.
Sorry.
$10 from Mr. Boricua 10. Tim and Stevie are two of the most dishonest callers to whom I've ever had the displeasure of listening. It cannot be that difficult to spend a few seconds using critical thought. How disappointing. It sucks to me that Stevie didn't appear to even have fucking Googled the things he was saying. He just heard Answers in Genesis say it and then regurgitated it. It sucks. It sucks, y'all. That's another thing. If we had been able to have the conversation, I would have loved to ask his opinion of Answers in Genesis. But here we are. What's Justin saying?
Deconstruction Zone 499. Upright fossils typically occur in layers associated with an actively subsiding coastal plain or rift basin. An actual geology book.
There you go. Funny how that works when you actually read the things. $5 from Joe Girard. Stevie, there are academics on both sides. He's going to hate Project Steve. It's true. That's very true. If you don't know what Project Steve is, look it up because it's great. Or you can look at my one of my recent Reacterias, the one about when creationism becomes conspiracy theory. I think it is. I talk about Project Steve in that one. It is quite fun.
Darren White, $10. Hi, Seth. Hi, Forrest. That's it. That's my message. Good day, and a good day to you.
Hi.
Thank you.
10 Canadian dollars from this fucking person again, who says, Caps Lock isn't yelling. Well, I disagree.
I know we're on the clock here. What happens if these continue to come in? I don't want to do a disservice to anyone, but we were supposed to be done 20 minutes ago. Same user, $4.99. Don't read this message. Jesus, how many of these are going to come in?
Yeah,
Thanks for the support.
Quit giving us money, you asshole.
Yeah, I mean, it's a double-edged sword, isn't it?
$4.99 from Silly Spaghetti. Lol, not Trick on the Ark. You don't want it. You don't want it. Have you seen those creatures? They look terrifying.
Atheist truck driver, $4.99. There could only be a limited amount of people on Earth with only 10 generations between Adam and Noah.
Certainly not as many as we claim. And then from Noah, Noah in a couple hundred years had enough children and grandchildren or great-grandchildren to populate all of Egypt and all of the other countries that they go to, and the Israelites and all the other things. He was busy. He would have been having to have hundreds and hundreds of children. $6 Canadian dollars and 99 beaver nuggets from Maureen O'Hara. Forrest and Seth, thank you for helping me through my journey to truth. Thank you.
Thank you
for allowing us the opportunity to be a part of that journey. Congratulations to you.
Same user, $5. Job, get drunk once and nobody lets you forget what you did. Yahweh, probably.
It's a bad book. It's a bad book. Anybody who hasn't actually read Job should fucking read Job. It is a fucking wild ride. $5 from A Trex. HC, you don't have to feel dumb or wrong for asking questions. Everyone has to start from somewhere. I'm sure people are willing to help. Damn right. I hope HC keeps calling back because he seems like I'm pretty sure he's quite young and he seems like he's in a very scary place and I want to help.
Monkey, a typewriter, $5. HC, you're dealing with a common and difficult thing. Religions often use this fear to make you feel like you should apologize for existing. Don't.
Damn right. Damn right. $5 from Ezjail. English is a very plastic language. Get people to use a word and it becomes a word. That's right. I've gotten Seth to say
except for irregardless, which is not a word. It will never be a word. I don't care how many times you throw Webster's dictionary at me. It's not a word. Irregardless. It's not a fucking Everything else is okay.
It's not a fucking word.
Amen.
When I was in my last anatomy class a couple of years ago, I kept fucking forgetting things, and I also just the way I talk, I make up weird words for what I'm doing, and I got the rest of the lab to doing it. And so there was a certain point where I'd have the TAs come over and they're like, so underneath the squimble here, when you get behind that scrambus, you'll find this ding dong down there, and that's where the dolval is, and just because that's the way that I would be speaking up in there. $5 from Team Az. I was really helped by Theoretical Bullshit's video and What If I'm Wrong. And it came to fear of hell. Alex O'Connor made a good video on it too. Hell yeah. I've never seen these things, but I'll look them up.
Christine C., Forrest and Seth, the smartest dream team. Nah, not that smart.
What are you
we are smooth. We are smooth.
Yes.
We're like peanut butter. We're very smooth and very tasty. Thank you.
$5 from the same user, Mathazar of Galaxy Quest, doesn't understand lies and reception. Reception is what that word says. All right.
Mr. Boricula, $20. Cat and HC are on the same journey at two different stages. Both are asking the same questions. One is trying to hang on. The other's going through the thick of it. I'm pulling for both. Y'all will be stronger. Y'all got this. Thank you so much for the super chat and the encouragement.
Yeah. $10 from the Mad Bard. The show has been very euphoric. The feverish defense of trans people and being educated better on it helped me a lot with accepting who I was. Congratulations on learning more about who you are and being able to accept that, no matter whether you're trans or what. That's an awesome thing to be able to do. A lot of people don't take the time to have that introspection.
For $5. Close, Seth. There's a character named Malthazar in Galaxy Quest. Thank you. I was getting a ping there, but I guess Balthazar and Malthazar, close enough. I'll take it.
Balthazar is one of the wise men, isn't he?
I don't know.
$5 from the same user. If at first you don't succeed, try again, from Colonel O'Neill. I don't know who that is, but I appreciate you sending us all your colorful ass money. It's very kind of you.
Jane Bramley, $5. I accidentally bought too many art supplies. I'm having an excess stencil crisis. You should be punished.
No, that's fantastic. That's a great one. Don't let him gaslight you. That's phenomenal.
Not gaslighting. It's speaking the truth.
No, that's gaslighting. $5 from A Trex. Being a scientist has taught me that being wrong isn't bad. It's an opportunity to become right. Every time I'm wrong, I get corrected and I am smarter because of it. I can love being wrong.
Same user, Untitled Final V2. NN Glory says I'm doing it wrong. Whatever. We're going to be here all freaking night. We're supposed to be done at 8:30. Who's next?
$5 from T-Maz. For debates, become familiar with apologetic arguments. Christians recycle bad answers they find online a lot. Also, read the Bible objectively. That's what I'm talking about.
Nick Hanlon, $5. People are always shocked when they find out I am a bad electrician.
That's really good. I like that a lot. A man assaulted me with a gallon of milk. How dare he? 2,500 cockroach radiating cunts. What? From Joanna Vanderklee. Grown-ups believing in complete fairy tales, very juvenile. Gods, ghosts, and talking animals, they should all grab a brain cell. That's the nature of indoctrination. You can get someone to believe truly ridiculous, crazy, insane things if you give them that same story for their whole lives and you teach them from a young age that only good people believe those things and only bad people don't believe those things, and also they'll burn in hell if they don't believe those things. That's all.
Space Barbarian, $5. Ooh, hell is a place on earth.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, hell is a place on earth. 5 more colorful Canadian dollars. Is it pronounced GIF or GIF? Good question.
GIF. Actually, I always say animated GIF, but then I said GIF. I don't know. One-Eyed Heathen, $10. Seth, listen to the audiobook. Religion Made Me Talk Like an Idiot. Hope that title is correct. Today's callers typify that book title. The book's called Christianity Made Me Talk Like an Idiot. And it's an exploration into how indoctrination, cultural reinforcement bias, brain psychology, and a shit ton of other factors can cause people who are not stupid to actually say and do some stupid things. And we can all be guilty of that. So thanks for the kind words,
Available
though, and for
now
reading
at
the book. Appreciate
all reputable bookstores near you. $5. I forced Seth to sell this to me. $5 from One-Eyed Heathen. Forrest heading to Subway. What is rolling one on a sandwich? That's a matter of faith. You'll have to figure that out for yourself. Search your soul.
Eifer, I'm pretty sure they weren't going to call it Fruity Tales Forest.
You don't know anything about anything. You don't know what people will do, what fruits people will name. $4.99 from Balthazar. The best argument any creationist claim about whales is cetacean needed. I'm 99% sure you can buy a cetacean needed t-shirt at valkaimerch.com.
Soupy Dude, $5. ICE made a mistake raiding California in the summer. We've already got the heat on. They're going to melt real quick.
Hell yeah. I do. I have a cetacean needed shirt. Hell yeah. You can buy shirts and mugs and hoodies and tote bags, all that say cetacean needed. $5 more from Her Ladyship is a title of nobility, which I have no true right or claim, as if that ever stopped me, but I love your interpretation of it, Forrest. Hell yeah. I just said words. I don't know what anything is. I'm very tired.
Donkey Butt, $4.99. How do y'all stay up with current events? I think you have to know a little bit about a lot, but it's overwhelming at times. I think we're all in that same boat. I think don't doom scroll. Try to find reputable sources, fact check, and don't punish yourself if you don't know everything about everything, because nobody does.
Yeah, NPR is a good place to get things that are actually like filtered and vetted. TikTok is a phenomenal place to get primary sources, as long as you're willing to like actually go and do the work. If you have some guys just on there like, blah, they did these things, don't repost that shit. But if you see like actual news organizations on there and you can get like the same story from 15 different people that isn't clearly a rumor, you can learn some stuff. Pretty cool. Is this you?
Is it you?
I don't know. $4.99 from the Wishmaster. The prophecy fulfilled. If you take one step towards Allah, he takes two steps towards you. Then eventually you're going to run into each other, and that's a scary time. Because Allah is a monster. So you don't want to do that.
One-Eyed Heathen, $5. Suggesting the group Indivisible, because they have done well organizing safe, effective protest. Indivisible is a great 5051 is a great organization, and go to nokings.org for information on the big rallies that are happening, not just nationwide, but worldwide. They're happening, I think, around noon on Saturday. I'll be at mine in my local city, but I think it's going to be huge. So yeah,
I'll be at mine in my local city. Hope to see you there.
So
yeah. If you live in Tulsa, come see Seth and I at the No Kings protest this Saturday. Get hyphy with us. $5 from Joshua Everett. Beard plus straight hair equals classic signs of doppelganger infiltration. We see you, Tommy. # where's Forrest? I am the real Forrest Valkai. Totally not an imposter. One time, this is a true story, Amber came into the room apropos of nothing and told me she is very real and actually her and not an imposter, and would not leave the room until I said that I agreed and confirmed that she was not an imposter and I was not in any danger and it was the real her. And then she left just the same way she entered. It was great. It's like 10 minutes. I'm real. I'm not fake. I need you to say it. It was great.
$5 from Regato. I wanted to tell you a joke about a vacuum, but it sucks. Rim shot.
That's great. That's great. I like that one. $5 from Darren McAuliffe. So God can use magic to get all the animals in the ark, then back home, but he can't use magic to allow them to survive underwater or make a better fucking world or anything else. Who knows?
Lila Ten Vas, $10. The Bible doesn't say Tommy Valkai wasn't there with Jesus, so he must have been.
It's true. He is eternal. $5 from the frozen wastelands of Canada who says, don't worry, it's fake money. That's true. That's true. But we will spend your monopoly money here because we live in a capitalist hellscape and God, we need it.
Same user. Message from same user. Really enjoying yourself, aren't you? But thanks for the find out.
I wish I was rich enough to fuck with two hosts on a call-in show. $5 from June Bramley. Irregardless is a perfectly cromulent word, if for no other reason that it avoids and annoys prescriptivists. Yeah, Seth.
Nah, not a word. Jane Bramley, I have a Polish friend who is a roadie for a band. I have a check 1 2, a check 1 2, check 1 2. A comedy warehouse, really. Just shopping at Comedy Central. Thank you.
Do you know why Christians don't like chemistry? It's all about atoms bonding.
As if the show is not going on long enough, Forrest is going to tell me yet another lame-ass joke. Go ahead. No, go ahead. Really. It's fine. My wife's just waiting downstairs to spend a few minutes with her husband after a long day. But no, take your sweet-ass time and tell more jokes, people.
You tell her that you were listening to the best joke you've ever heard. $5 from A-Trex. Seth, we're sorry for keeping you so late reading Super Chat.
I feel that in my core. Thank you for that deep, compassionate super chat. Thank you. Thank you so much.
This one's for you.
Oh, we apologize, Jane Bramley. We apologize for all the super chats. Yeah, you're fine. You're
so kind. It's so kind. And that's it. Very funny way to end the show. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I love our audience. You recalcitrant bastards. With that, it is time for us to wrap up. I know our producer is just got out of the hospital. He's sick. We're going to let him go. But really quickly, thank you to everybody in the chat, even the people that sucked. Thank you to all the callers and even the people that sucked. Thank you to our call screener, Stephanie Helms, I believe, was screening tonight. Thank you to Fia Halo for doing the timestamps. Thank you to Seth, my co-host, for being so awesome today. Thank you to everybody for watching. Fuck ICE, free Palestine, protect trans kids. If you disagree with any of that, call the fucking show. That's it. Good night. Never stop learning. Bye. Bye. We could have been running credits while I was doing all that, but we weren't. Just gonna keep waving. Keep waving. No, we're back. We're back on this one now.